Warning. The Drunken Peasants podcast is full of comedic exaggerations, independent thought, insensitivity, and other offensive content. We strongly urge all viewers and listeners to keep their brains in their skulls throughout the entire duration of this podcast. Failure to do so will result in immediate death. If you wish to support this podcast, there are several ways to do so. First, you can sign up for a free audiobook trial at audibletrial.com/drunkenpeasants. Audible is the foremost seller of audiobooks today with hundreds of thousands of titles to satisfy all manner of tastes. Second, if you shop on Amazon.com, please use the Amazon affiliate links in the description section of this video. Every purchase you make helps to support this podcast's existence. Third, please peruse our merchandise and see if any of it strikes your fancy. We sell a lot of t-shirts, so we must be doing something right. One more thing before I go. To make an official submission to the Drunken Peasants, whether it be a video for one of our segments, or fan art, or a picture of you wearing one of our shirts, or anything you think we might want to use on the show, that stuff needs to be sent to the Drunken Peasants Facebook inbox. Please do not send correspondence, as this will be deleted unread. With all that shit out of the way, it's time to begin the show.
Live from the frigid armpit of America, this is the Drunken Peasants podcast with Ben and TJ, bringing you opinions of the news from an altered perspective.
Fuck it! Hey man, you got a joint? No, not on me, man.
I don't have facts to back this up.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
What the fuck are you talking about, atheist? It's okay.
You're nothing, KJ. You're garbage.
I just want to be light.
You're garbage.
And now, here are your hosts, Ben and TJ.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
Hello, welcome to the Drunken Peasants podcast, episode 299. The first one in the new DP studio.
As you can see, one episode.
Extremely impressive.
Smoke weed every day.
Yeah, blank walls.
Yeah, there's nothing on the walls.
We'll
yet.
probably get some posters soon.
Yeah, we're gonna put some shit up in here, and hopefully, as things progress, you'll see with greater scope and clarity what our studio.
I just want
looks
to
like.
not apologize to the audience for being late because I had very critical and pressing issues. Like I had to pick some shit on my toenails, so I
You
apologize.
should apologize to Kyle Kulinski, dude.
I'm not apologizing to Noam Chomsky there, buddy.
Noam Chomsky.
Wow.
Garden Noam Chomsky, man.
I can tell
poor
everybody
man's
that
Noam Chomsky.
the new studio is impressive from my perspective as of right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It may not look like much to the people yet because there's no posters up. This is pretty badass.
Yeah, we got two giant tables.
If only two of the people here had helped us set up.
What I helped.
What? Help set up? No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
How the fuck did you help
Me
set
and Ben
up?
were here
I
at
fucking
9.
plugged in that coaxial cable to that thing.
Okay, you're joking.
You're garbage, dude.
And I helped Scotty.
You didn't even call. We did it online.
Yeah.
And I did half of that, so you barely did anything.
Well, you said
Yeah,
I didn't do
and you know
anything.
what? And you know what? TJ didn't help with the teardown either yesterday.
Nope.
So he helped
conspicuous in my
0
absence.
fucking % with the move here.
As it should be.
Oh, whatever, dude. You fucking.
Well, I mean, it was done right, so
Hey,
I guess so.
Micro.
I paid for your guys' expensive dinners last night, so you wouldn't give
You
me
only
shit about this.
okay, yeah, you did it. So no, the deal wasn't that we couldn't give you shit about it. The deal was that you didn't have to help.
Yep,
That's true.
That's exactly it.
That's true. But a gracious person wouldn't give me shit.
Whatever.
That's fine. I
Be
don't
gracious.
have to be
Yeah,
gracious.
I'm not.
gracious.
Then I'm not gracious.
Yeah.
then.
Whatever. You guys are scum. You guys are scum.
Whatever, dude.
So let's get Kyle on. He's waited long enough. Bring on the guest. Bring on the cuck.
The cuck.
Bring on the beta cock.
Bring on the lesbian softball coach, beta cuck.
It's just too easy with some people.
It's just too easy.
The wall.
It's too easy to destroy him.
Oh God.
Hey guys,
Hey, how's it going, Kyle?
Hello.
I'm good. What's up, everybody?
We're just talking about your lesbian softball coachness and how much what a cuck you are, and how your real name is Kyle Kulinski. You know.
I didn't know what a cuck was until like this year.
Yeah, well, it's funny because most people discovered the word this year, and this is the year it also became meaningless. So they drove it into the ground before most people knew what it was.
Yeah. When did fag go like out of fashion and it's no longer acceptable in PC culture. When was that on the way out? Like 4 years ago, 3 years ago?
I mean, it never left me. I'm still fine with the word. But yeah.
Fag has gone away, but faggot has made a comeback.
Yeah.
I know some people call people faggots now. Like, you're not a fag, you're a faggot.
Pretty much everyone I call a fag or a faggot isn't gay.
Yeah?
No, that's right. You guys remember that South Park episode? I think I subscribe to their approach to it. Like, in that episode, for people who don't know, they call people fags, and all the parents are like upset, like, oh, how could you say that? That's so homophobic. And then they're like, no, we don't mean he's like gay. We mean he's not like he's a homosexual, like he's a fag.
Yeah, he's a total fag.
Yeah, and they're saying it in regards to the bikers, these like dumbass bikers who ride around and they're like, in the episode they like make the noise with their mouth, and it's like, yeah, no, we don't mean they're gay. We just mean they're fags.
Yeah,
that like dichotomy, it's hard for people to get that. Like, no, that doesn't mean the same thing. Like, we're not saying we hate gay people. It's just, something that was part of how you would go after people growing up if you're just ribbing them.
People are pretty slow on the uptake. I got to thank you while you're here because you did help me win $1,000 against Scotty here. Well, me and Scotty had a little bet going that
wrong.
Whatever. I said Trump was going to win. Scotty said Hillary was going to win.
Wrong.
We had a bet for $1,000, and for the weeks leading up to it, as the polls looked worse and worse for Trump, I was more like, shit, I lost this money. Fucking Kyle Kulinski fucking made me think Trump had a chance.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, my prediction, I did a prediction video beforehand, and my guess was that Hillary would get about 279 electoral votes, and she would eke it out. So I was like, where did you get that I thought Trump was going to win?
When you started, it was when you were making videos laying out, cautioning the Hillary Clinton campaign and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Right. It was like, look, Trump's running a better campaign. Look, Hillary Clinton's running a campaign on PC outrage. You kept pointing things out, and the more I looked at it, the more I'm like, he's right. This is all bullshit. This is a terribly run campaign. She's going to lose. And then I fucking made the $1,000 bet. Well, it was a $500 bet. It got doubled or nothing at some point, but...
Yeah. The thing is, everybody was surprised. Even myself, I was a little shocked at the results, but the reality is we really shouldn't have been because, you just said it right there. When you look at how Hillary ran her campaign, the whole fucking thing was like, stronger together and break down the barriers, and like everybody looks at that. Nobody looks at that and goes, oh yeah, that's so profound. You just sound like a prick.
The entire press just treated this all like it was just an extended coronation of Queen Hillary.
They really did.
So to see that scepter wrenched out of her hands, even though I'm not the most thrilled in the world about Trump, I am happy to see that she doesn't just get to be president because she kicked and screamed and said it should be hers.
I would pay so much money to be a fly on the wall in the room the moment that she knew it's totally over. Her and her campaign people. There was a story that they popped champagne early in the day on Tuesday.
Oh, shit.
Wow. And she was butthurt because she didn't even give a concession speech that night.
I doubt she even wrote one.
She had this big arena or auditorium full of people, ready to cheer her on as the president-elect, and she didn't even come out.
That was the ultimate fuck you from Hillary Clinton. It was the perfect shit end to a horrifyingly bad campaign. All the people that were there, your closest supporters, your friends, your family, are all gathered around to support you that day, and you couldn't even come out and say thank you.
Send out Podesta to be like, yeah, we go talk to you guys tomorrow.
Every vote counts. Keep counting. Keep counting, guys.
They were in the Jacob Javits Center in New York City, and I heard that the reason why they did it there is because there was a literal glass ceiling in the Javits Center, and she wanted to make a whole big thing about, I'm the first woman president, I broke the glass ceiling. And it was
you know what? That glass ceiling is still there at the fucking center.
Wow. That is so corny.
It is.
Yeah.
She probably did the whole thing just so she could look up and be like, well, we smashed it.
Think of how out of touch they really were, though, because the entire campaign was run like it was 1992. She thought the more she acted like a fake robotic politician, the more on message she was. Trump. The thing about Trump that I actually really like is that he really changed the game of politics. Now you can go out there and speak in broken sentences and just say whatever the fuck, and that's not necessarily a liability. So the whole like textbook on how to run a campaign is totally thrown out. And it's actually not just Trump. We could say Bernie too was a big part of that, because this dude would go out there and just looking all schlubby and like hunchback and everything, just saying whatever, and it would work. It would resonate because people thought, oh, that's authentic, as opposed to Hillary, who was so polished that it barely looked human.
I think it barely looks human because it barely is human.
She barely is human.
No, I mean, I'm serious. But the thing, what do you think about this Jeff Sessions Attorney General fucking nomination that's happening
Terrible.
right here? Yeah, I
Terrible.
agree.
So I was afraid that with Trump, I didn't know if we're gonna get like 100%. Like he'll go in there and he'll be like, "Oh fuck, I'm way over my head," and then he just picks the most establishment people ever. Or if he'd go in there and still be like bullheaded and say, "No, I got this shit," and basically do whatever the fuck he wants. Either one of them, I'm not sure is necessarily good. But picking people like Jeff Sessions, that just means that he went in there and he was like, "Okay, who are the far-right Republicans who've been in here forever? I'm just going to pick them because I'm a Republican president, so I'm just going to go through the motions and go with somebody like Jeff Sessions." And Jeff Sessions is as bad as it gets, man. Jeff Sessions said, like, if you smoke marijuana, you're not a good person.
Yeah, I have the quotes right here.
But an early Trump supporter, too.
This is Sessions saying, "We need grown-ups in charge in Washington to say marijuana is not the kind of thing that ought to be legalized. It ought to be minimized.
Fuck you, Jeff Sessions.
That it's, in fact, a real danger. I think one of Obama's great failures, it's obvious to me, is his lax treatment and comments on marijuana. It reverses 20 years almost of hostility to drugs that began when Nancy Reagan said, 'Just say no.'"
Wow.
No, you know what? I really can't overstate how bad it is that he might be Attorney General, because one of the points I always make about marijuana laws is that I feel like, liberals kind of they just forget that this can be temporary. We tend to think of it as like the trends of history moving in the right direction. But since at a federal level, marijuana is still illegal, that means, because of the way our Constitution works with the Supremacy Clause, that means that it's totally legal for the executive branch to just say, shut it all down in California, shut it all down in Colorado, shut it all down in Washington, and they're well within their rights. And the states have no recourse. They could go to court, but they'd lose on day one, because it doesn't matter if your state laws legalized it. Federal law overrides state law. So if Donald Trump looks the other way and says, Jeff, have at him, then we're really fucked, and we'll really be rolling the clock back on marijuana progress.
Every time when a liberal gets elected and these conservatives all go out and buy a bunch of guns, I laugh at them. But now I'm fixing to go get a shitload of weed. Fixing to do it. I'm going to get a fucking stockpile going. Why not?
I did that with Kratom. You've heard of Kratom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the DEA, they were like, maybe we should ban this because there's absolutely nothing fucking wrong with it, and it helps people. It's a recreational drug that people like me. A lot of people used it who were addicted to pain pills, and it got them off of it. Some people used it who were addicted to heroin. It helps some people with PTSD, some people with anxiety. It's a lot like marijuana in that respect.
Sounds like it has to be stopped.
Exactly. So the DEA was like, yeah, now let's make this a Schedule 1. I'm like, what the fuck? So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll go buy like $1,000 worth of it, and I'll say, okay, I'll be okay for myself, even though they shouldn't fucking ban it. It's insane they would even consider it.
What's your read on Trump so far? Because we're talking about how he's sort of started to pick these really establishment far-right Republican people to start filling out his cabinet with, but he's moderated his rhetoric. I mean, it was almost immediate. His concession speech was not what I expected, and from
not
there,
concession, but
his acceptance. Sorry,
it actually felt like a concession speech, though.
It really did.
It really did, because he came out kind of sad and forlorn, and it was like, I don't know. It was a very weird moment, but yeah. What do you think about? What do you think is in the mystery box of Trump at this point? What's your best guess?
I really don't know, but here's what I'm really interested to see. The reaction from the people who supported him, because during the primary and during the general election, it felt like no matter what he said, they would always just come out and swing for Daddy Trump. So what I'm really interested in is if he acts a lot more moderate than he campaigned, are the people in his base, like the thing he said about gay marriage, he was like, yeah, I'm fine with it, basically. So are the people in his base, like evangelicals voted for him in gigantic numbers, are they going to look at that and go, hey, man, what the fuck?
Yeah,
are they going to or are they going to do what they did with Bush and Reagan and go, well, we'll fall back and act like we'll just be authoritarians and say we'll rent our brain out to our daddy and whatever he says is okay.
I really feel like it depends on what he tries to make his signature first big presidential accomplishment.
Build the wall.
I would, if I were in Trump's position and I made that litany of promises, the wall actually is the one I would probably focus on.
Yeah, and I gotta say, and this might make people on the left mad at me, am incredibly indifferent to the idea of a wall.
Me too.
I don't.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it doesn't make you a bigot to build a wall. It doesn't. There's nothing. You know what it is? It really is akin to just you have neighbors and you put a fence up.
Sure.
Like, ooh, how
TJ
crazy.
TJ and I had a conversation about this shortly after Trump was elected, about how the wall could be a good thing overall. He could put thousands and thousands of people to work for a long time, and then you've got this labor force. After we've built the wall, why not put them to work rebuilding this because Trump has always been talking about our crumbling infrastructure, our bridges, our roads, our inner cities. Put these people to work as kind of a traveling United States labor force to fix up some of this shit that's been withering on the vine all these years. You
could fix it at the same time. I mean, I think the wall is ineffectual. I don't really think it's going to be. I think it's kind of stupid.
Totally
but
ineffectual.
I mean, like, if I was Trump, it's the thing I'd focus on, because it really is the kind of, like, I think the more people actually think about it, the more it's like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Waste
don't get me wrong,
money, but so what?
If I was president, I would never sit down. All right, let's plan out a wall. Like, I don't give a shit enough to do that. But am I going to be really angry if they build a wall? No. I think there are about 9,013 other things he said and maybe wants to do that would really piss me off versus that.
That kind of brings up a question. What do you think scares you the most about potentially what could happen in a Trump presidency? Like, what's the worst thing you could see him doing?
That's a great question. There's a lot. I think a lot of stuff. I really think he has a really strong, impulsive, authoritarian side of him where he sued Bill Maher because Bill Maher made a joke about him. He sued The Onion over a satire article. He said we need to open up our libel laws so that he can go after the media. He said he likes the idea of having free speech laws that are a lot more like England, which, by the way, their laws are a fucking disaster because it opens the door to hate speech and all kinds of bullshit. The United States with our Constitution and the First Amendment, we're really lucky because we really get to say a lot of fucking shit, and we get away with it. He's because he's so thin-skinned, I fear what happens to freedom of the press. I fear what happens with civil liberties. I mean, the shit he said about we have to take out their families, talking about killing civilians in the Middle East. I mean, that's fucking crazy. That's like crossing a line that's hard to go back. And Obama, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's killed many innocent civilians with drones. And obviously Bush killed massive numbers of innocent civilians too. But I feel like there's such a big difference between walking into the president's office and saying, Mr. President, we killed civilians, and the president going, oh, fuck, you got to do better. Versus if you tell Trump and Trump's really end.
Whatever.
I mean, yeah. What administration is not, especially the United States, is not going to have lots of civilian casualties? I mean, that's pretty much going into that. I
kind of wonder though.
Happen.
I kind of wonder though, Kyle. Is it could you see it from the perspective of at least he's fucking honest about what we're actually doing and how we actually fight these wars?
No,
that's
yeah,
how I feel.
No, totally. I went back and forth on that exact point in my mind, which is the neoconservatives did all these grotesque things, but they would lie and they'd say, no, we're not torturing. We're doing enhanced interrogation and we're really good people and all this stuff. With Trump, he just drops the veneer. So on the one hand, yeah, it's much more honest. But then on the other hand, the precedent that sets is bad because then what you're doing is you're broadcasting to the rest of the world that, look, we don't give a fuck about Magna Carta and the International Criminal Court and the Geneva Conventions and the Nuremberg Tribunal. So you guys go ahead and go nuts too. And then you give a green light to fucking Iran to torture. You give a green light to all the different countries who are our enemies to torture. And I don't think anybody should be torturing. I don't think anybody should be doing any of that shit. So with him, I don't know. I'm also scared about some economic stuff. I'm actually hopeful about TPP, that he will block that and he will stick to his word. Though again, I really don't know about that, but I'm hopeful about that. I'm hopeful about
pretty big campaign promise.
That's true, but I mean, Hillary had to say in the debates multiple times against Bernie, I'm not for TPP either. But I fear that Trump might do the same thing that Hillary did, or Hillary was going to do, which I think we all know she would have passed TPP in one way or another. But I feel like Trump might do the same thing, which is you go in there, you change a few provisions, and then you come out and say, no, this is no longer TPP. This is a tremendous deal. This is the Trump trade deal.
I'm sorry.
Right. No, go ahead.
Oh, me and TJ had the exact same conversation with TPP. We're like, oh, they'll change the name, they'll change it, they'll take off one page and they'll put a new page in, and they go, look, it's a different deal. It's all fixed.
Yeah, they're good at doing that. What was that big thing that everybody was messed up about like 4 or 5 years ago? SOPA, yeah, SOPA, and then it became PIPA, and then it became CISPA. I mean, they just rename it until finally, a weary Congress passes it, and the American people get tired of.
And they spy anyways, Paul. They do it anyways. They don't give a shit.
Of course they do.
That's another thing, by the way. Net neutrality, I feel like, is something that Trump might just randomly put on the chopping block if he gets enough pressure from corporations. So that would make it so that, like, internet service providers could just slow down service to certain websites and just demand basically bribes to get the internet fast lane. So it's all these like little things that you didn't think about before. Oh, when it comes to the FDA and the EPA, forget it. Those are done. I mean, I covered the story the other day. Rick Perry, he's thinking about putting as the head of the Department of Energy, and meanwhile, Rick Perry said, I want to eliminate the Department of Energy.
Right.
So he's doing the oldest trick in the book, which is I'm going to appoint people to head the EPA, the FDA, the Department of Energy who don't believe in it. So they'll just sit on their ass and let people do whatever they want. Like climate change is a big issue where I don't think there was an equivalence between Trump and Hillary. I think Trump is just significantly worse.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, how crazy are you being driven right now by the left and the right and the crazy levels of just irrationality that exist on both sides? I'll give you one example before I let you riff on it. Like this racism thing. I feel like the left now declares that anything that's even the least bit like a racial joke or something, like that's the most racist. You might as well be in the Klan. And on the right wing, you can have someone being like, you know who fucking ought to all die? Niggers. And like, that's racist. And they're like, no, that's not racist. What he said was not racist, okay? It's like, I don't understand. One side says everything's racist. One side says nothing's racist. What's going on?
Yeah, one thing that's gotten me a lot angry, and I think it's one of the main reasons why Trump won, is that a lot of the arguments against him were just coming from a deep liberal bubble where like they would argue things and they would just expect you to know like the previous arguments that have been made to come to that conclusion. So let me give you an example. I think like The Atlantic wrote a piece and they rarely, if ever, endorse presidential candidates, and they basically said not Trump, so endorsing Hillary. And they said like, oh, he's a racist, sexist, xenophobic, bigot, so on and so forth. And like I'm reading the article and I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, I actually think those things are true. I actually think he is all of those things. But at no point in the article did you say, here are the exact reasons why he's those things. Like, okay, let's talk about how we said keep 1.6 billion Muslims out of the country, kick out 11 million undocumented immigrants, do law and order. We need to do stop and frisk for everywhere in the country, even though it's been proven that it's overwhelmingly used to crack down on black people, and the overwhelming majority of stops of those black people yield nothing. So you're just taking away their Fourth Amendment rights. You have no probable cause. So but I was waiting for the
aggressive. You're such a
I was waiting for the argument. Like they never made the argument of, hey, here's why he's xenophobic, bigoted. They just assumed that people knew it. So when you say that,
the Bannon thing, dude.
Right, but when
the appointment. Oh, go ahead.
So when you say that over and over, like I feel like a lot of people who are not racist and are not bad people just go, all right, I got it. That's the argument you use against Trump. He's racist. Next. And I feel like you're failing miserably when you do that, because there's a lot of real reasons to fear a Trump presidency, and people were not making those actual arguments as to why you should fear a Trump presidency. Like, for example, when he said he would make a deal on the debt. Yeah, that's what I do. When I go bankrupt, I go and I negotiate, and I just tell them, you're going to get half. You're going to get half is what you're going to get. Like, asshole, you can't do that. The dollar is the world reserve currency, and that would mean a global economic crash. But nobody talks about that. They talk about, oh, he's just a bigot. and then they don't even explain why he's a bigot.
It's because both sides try to appeal to like simpletons. It's like Trump bad, Trump racist. Hillary bad, Hillary Benghazi. She killed. She do bad things. Email. She delete email that that bad. It's like people understand that. If anything requires more than like one step of explanation, like this plus this equals bad.
Yeah.
If you have to like guide people through a chain of events, then they just lose it. Like, what? I'm lost.
Well, when you make everything
lost
racist,
my attention span.
When you make everything racist, the word racist then loses its power. Just like we were talking about cuck earlier. Cuck has lost any meaning or power because everything's a cuck. Everyone's a beta. Everyone's autistic. Everyone is this. So you just don't. At a point, you tune it out. You go, okay, Trump's racist, whatever. You don't care.
Did you guys notice during the election that I saw this on my channel and I was actually like amazed by it? Like you could sense by the mood on the internet that if the internet were to decide the election, it would go like 90-10 to Donald Trump. Like anytime I, on my super liberal channel, criticize Trump, there would be way more dislikes on a video than if I criticize Hillary. So like you could sense that everybody was like, fuck Hillary, anything but Hillary, even this buffoon reality star.
Yeah, I mean, I experienced the same thing. Like, I'd make videos against both of them because I hated both of them, and I still pretty much do. Although I'm trying to give Trump a fair shake, but he hasn't even taken office yet, so whatever. I want to see what he's actually going to do with his power before I start laying into him. But I'm almost certain that eventually the point's going to come where I have to join the liberal hate machine. But, where was I going with this? What were we talking about?
The internet being massively
I mean, if I made the
biased.
anti-Hillary videos, like boom, surge of thumbs up, surge of approval. Anything I said about against Trump, even if it was totally sensible, was just like, nope, Trump's great. You'll see.
That's right.
The God Emperor has come.
Thing.
Yeah.
No, but
horrible
it
stuff.
actually, I think it made me a better host because it made it so that like anytime I went after Trump, there was no hint of laziness in any of my anti-Trump videos. I always try to be as detailed as possible because if you attack Trump and you're lazy online in your attack of Trump, people just be like, boo, dislike.
Yeah, but even if you're thorough, they're still going to be like, oh, yeah, well, whatever, still dislike it.
Can we trust our fourth estate anymore here in America after this election? Can we trust any fucking thing that they're saying? Any poll that we read? It's all bullshit, right?
Well, the polls, on the polls, that's an interesting question. The media, I would say you shouldn't trust for a million reasons. We can get into that. But for the polls, I actually think they weren't that far off. So Hillary was up about 3 or 4 points on average nationally on Election Day. Yep. And the plus or minus, the margin of error on your standard poll is about 3 percentage points. So Barack Obama in 2012 overshot his estimates by about 3 percentage points. And this time Trump did the same thing. So when you look, Hillary won by, about a percentage point. When all is said and done with the popular vote, she's going to win by over a million in the popular vote. So she was up by about 1 percentage point or maybe a little less than that, which is right within the margin of error. And it just so happened that the distribution of votes in the different states made it so that Trump could win with the Electoral College. So like Nate Silver, who I had massive disagreements with earlier on in the general election and in the primary, I think he was actually the most correct out of all the different polling outlets because they're like the Huffington Post pollster where they had had Hillary at a 98% chance to win, and they weren't the only one. Like everybody had him. Nobody had him at more than like 10% chance, except Nate Silver and 538. They had him at
like
I think
35 or so.
Yeah, like 29
Towards
on the
the
day
end.
of the election. Yeah.
I think the LA Times had Trump at +2.
But even
there's a few.
Even Nate Silver adjusted his percentage estimate during the election for Hillary, saying, "Oh yeah, she's more likely to win now at some point." I remember we saw that during our live coverage of it.
Yeah.
So he was wrong. Everybody, it seems like all of these polls that had led us to believe that there was this crushing wave of, Hillary support coming, were all fucking false.
We should have just known it was bullshit when we looked at Hillary rallies and saw fucking, heard crickets and saw
excitement.
fucking tumbleweeds tumbling across the fucking...
I remember I was driving down the street and I saw someone...
The crowds should have been.
I saw someone with a Hillary bumper sticker and I was like, what? Someone actually supports Hillary and like publicly is saying it? Because I saw so much Trump shit, but I almost saw no Hillary shit. Like anywhere. It was like bizarre.
Okay. I'm in New York. I've seen no Hillary shit New York, the most democratic state. So
That's crazy.
I mean, that's anecdotal, but I don't know. It just you get a sense of
Zero
the
enthusiasm, though.
But when you look back as to why it is that Trump won, like you could actually hindsight is 2020, but you go, oh no, that makes sense because what he did is he knocked down the Democratic firewall in like Wisconsin and Michigan. I mean, these were states that were, and Pennsylvania, these were states that were like overwhelmingly likely to go to Hillary. But then when you look at the demographics of the state, it makes sense because these are all people like really angry, former middle class white voters who got their fucking job shipped out because of NAFTA and a bunch of other trade deals, which, by the way, Bill Clinton signed. So they were saying, you know what? Fuck you. Like we're sick of your shit. You're arguing you're part of the status quo and you're going to continue everything. We would rather have change, even if it's in the form of this buffoon. So when you look back, you go, oh no, that actually makes sense. And even though the poll showed her up massively in those states, it's easy to see why turnout was low for her, and people just came out for him.
Yeah, I mean, but even among the people who showed up to vote, the candidates were unpopular. Like you look at the exit polling, how do you feel about either of these candidates? Most of them said, yeah, they're both pieces of shit, but I got to vote for one.
Yeah, man. Could you imagine Bernie in this election?
It would have been. We were talking about
different story.
Other Democrats or Democratic figures that we think would have just absolutely raffle stomped Donald Trump. Bernie obviously tops that list.
Dude, tons of polls had him at +10 on Trump.
Yeah,
I think Tim Kaine alone probably would have put up a better fight than Hillary did.
I think he would have put up a better fight than Hillary. Yeah, but I think he actually could have won too.
But I think the numbers would have been closer.
Well, he doesn't have as much baggage anyway.
Yeah.
He's just as boring and just as tepid, but
right.
Yeah.
His problem is he's a 90s sitcom dad who's for the TPP.
Yeah.
So
right.
Trump could have ate his lunch on TPP.
Yeah, I mean, but there's plenty of people that could have. I mean, like Bernie Sanders obviously is the fucking example you're going to draw because what happened in the primaries and how close he came to actually being the nominee of the party.
Thanks for anointing yourself, Hillary. It turned out really well.
What do you think of all these Democrats, by the way, that aren't even coming close to learning the lesson?
Oh my God, that's probably got me more mad than anything. Man, I mean, how much more evidence do you need? It's been proven at this point. We went 100% with the path of these establishment, corporatist, centrist-y Democrats, and you got your fucking ass handed to you by the most disliked candidate ever. He had a 63% unfavorable rating during the election, and he won. I mean, this is a guy, he was caught saying, grab them by their pussies, I don't even wait. And that broke not that long before the election. Yeah. And he won. And that's not like, that's a reflection on her as a candidate. It just shows how people just couldn't do it. They couldn't suck it up and vote for her. I mean, I'm on the record as saying I did think she was the lesser of two evils, but I didn't fucking vote for her. When I voted for Jill Stein,
I could never figure out that arithmetic though, because I mean, I sat there, I legitimately tried. I'm like, I want to. Part of me was like, I want to participate in this election because it's just such an interesting election. I just want to cast a vote, and I looked at Gary Johnson and Jill Stein. I'm like, I'm not against voting third party, but neither of them did anything for me. So I'm like, I want to vote for one of the two candidates that might actually win. And I looked at him like, okay, lesser of two evils, lesser of two evils, lesser. And it seemed like every time the scales would tilt, I'd find something else on the other one, and I'd just be like, ah.
Do you think, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Kyle, but I wanted to ask you real quick. Do you think that the DNC in the Democratic Party and the DNC in the long term will learn a lesson from this? Or do you think we're going to keep getting shoveled horrible corporatist establishment candidates that everybody hates?
Until we force them. Until we force them to learn the lesson, they're not going to learn the lesson. So, I mean, the left needs to rise up and basically overtake the party and say, you need to step the fuck aside. And unless they do that, they're going to keep handing us these milquetoast, vanilla, corporate sellout Democrats. But to go back real quick to what TJ was saying, I wanted to give him my whole spiel on how I came to the conclusion that she's the lesser of two evils. So, I think that there's some issues, not a crazy amount, but there are some issues where I think she's just superior. So one of them is climate change. Now, in the negative column for her on climate change, when she was Secretary of State, she pushed fracking around the world. Like she kind of outsourced fracking.
You know, TJ's argument to all of this was, how do you know she really stands for that? How do you even really know?
Okay, but so I'll get to that. So,
oops.
The reason why Trump is worse on that, first of all, I mean, apart from the tweet saying he thinks climate change is a
conspiracy from China.
hoax.
Yeah, whatever. That's crazy.
But beyond that, he's said repeatedly, and I think he believes it. He wants to basically eliminate the EPA. Mm-hmm. And if you eliminate the EPA and you get rid of all regulations on on fracking, on oil, on all these different methods, it's just that's disastrous. That pushes us way down the road of increasing carbon emissions and pushing us further and further down the road of climate change. Another area where I thought she was unquestionably better was taxes, because on taxes, I mean, he's one of the consistent things about him throughout his campaign, and he's not been consistent on much, was that he wants to massively cut taxes for the rich. And his tax plan was basically the Bush tax cuts on steroids, just giant tax cuts for the rich, and everybody else, it kind of stays the same. With Hillary, I figured, even though her plan was actually more progressive than what we have right now and more liberal, I feel like the worst case scenario is just she kind of leaves the tax rates as they are, which are Obama's tax rates, which are very similar to Bill Clinton's tax rates, which have the top marginal rate at 39%. And Bush had them at 35%, Obama has them at 39%, and Trump wanted them at, I think, 28%. So he wanted to go back to the Reagan rates. That blows a giant hole in the deficit and he also wants to deregulate the economy. Again, with Hillary, I feel worst case scenario is she just doesn't do more regulation of Wall Street, whereas Trump, I feel, would actively put regulations on the chopping block and get rid of them. And since he has the House of Representatives and he has the Senate, they'll definitely agree on that. And then another big one is the Supreme Court. I mean, the Supreme Court, as much as I hate Merrick Garland, there's no doubt that Merrick Garland is significantly better than the next Antonin Scalia, who Trump said he wants to appoint. So those three issues are big. And then, I do think that he's more of like an existential threat to the First Amendment and to the Constitution, whereas she would be horrible with the Constitution. But basically, it's going to be continuing in the path of Obama. So Obama's fucking unconstitutional drone strikes and continues with the NSA and all that stuff, which is terrible. But I fear more an NSA in the hands of Donald Trump, who's like known for just super petty vindictiveness and going after all of his political opponents and just opponents in life. So
the thing that bothered me about Hillary, though, is like I'd look at her and I'd say, like, I see her saber rattling against Russia, and that really was like,
no,
I don't
you're
like
right.
that.
That's an area I give Trump credit. He's better on that. I'll give you that for sure.
I mean, that really scares the shit out of me, though. Like, I don't want us to be in any sort of fucking conflicted relationship with Russia. I don't feel like I want to return to the fucking paranoia of the Red Scare or the Cold War or any of that shit. And I kind of saw that creeping back up in her rhetoric, and I was like, no. And the fucking the no-fly zone she wanted to do.
Remember, she
that could have started.
She
World
blames
War
Russia.
III.
She blames Russia for all those emails. So Hillary hates Putin. She hates Russia. Because I think a large part of her feels like that cost her the election. She blames the FBI, and she blames Russia.
Yeah, no, on that, you're totally right, TJ. In fact, I'm one of like 6 people on the left who's willing to admit that I honestly think Trump is just better on the issue of Russia. Now, people on the left will say, well, no, he's got financial ties to them. As far as I know, that hasn't been proven. It's been proven about Paul Manafort, his former campaign manager, that he had financial ties to Russia and to pro-Russian actors in Ukraine. As far as I know, with Trump, it's all speculation. And by the way, what's the end of that argument? I never understood it when people are like, "Oh, Trump and Russia." Like, what do you think he's gonna do? Let fucking Putin invade Kentucky? What are you saying? There's no argument.
Wouldn't it be terrible if we got along with Russia? No, I don't think it would be.
That might be an improvement, though.
Maybe Kentucky does need some of that Russian moxie.
We're preemptively toasting to mine and TJ's presidential vice president victory in the year 2020.
Sweet.
Yep, victory.
Wait, am I gonna be president or vice president?
I don't know.
We'll flip a coin.
Yeah,
so it's gonna be Kirk,
vice president's less work.
It's gonna be Kirk Ghazi 2020.
Kirk Ghazi 2020.
Kirk Ghazi 2020. Sweet.
No, like I don't think you get it. You guys have a shot. Like it's a whole different game now with Trump. Now it's
that was another thing about Trump that actually I like is like I really do. I mean, like I know that a lot of people are really butthurt about the PC thing, and no one wants to talk about that. But like, I really do kind of like how Trump set that back, and now we can just fucking like. I feel like a big weight, like at least maybe his long-term impact on free speech is going to be bad, but right now I feel like it's had a good impact because I feel like, wow, if the president said, grab him by the pussy, I don't even wait, then the bar for me has been lowered. I can now get away with all kinds of shit I couldn't before. Or maybe I'm mistaken in that assumption. I don't know.
So on that, for me, I couldn't get over the fact that Trump to me is like the embodiment of the right-wing PC police. Like, you and I agree that there's a massive problem on college campus. Safe spaces are stupid, microaggressions are stupid, trigger warnings are stupid, and I've had people try to come at me like, no, you don't understand the argument that they're making. Let me explain it to you. Shut up. It's pampered little prick college kids who need to have my feelings and let's care more about my feelings than about serious fucking issues in the world. So there's a huge problem on college campuses with this genuine PC culture.
Why are so many liberals such pussies?
You have to love the concern trolls.
Honestly, I've seen TYT advocate for safe spaces and shit like that.
I mean, one of the things we watched. Yeah, go ahead.
They're certainly more social justice warrior-y than I am, for sure. Yeah. You would hope that, and I think, to be honest, I think that if there was a voice on the panel, if I lived in California and I was on the panel and I voice objections to some whatever it may be, if they're doing outrage over some sort of video game that has, I think they did a segment a while back, like there was a video game that included like slavery as part of it. I don't know if it was like a historical game or where they were teaching about it. I don't even know all the details of it, but they were like angry over it. And it's like, well, hold on now. Like Call of Duty, Rainbow Six, there's roughly 9,037 games that have murder in it. Like, do you not understand that doesn't mean you're actually pro-murder? You're not actually pro-slave. It's a fucking game. So anyway, I feel like if you had a voice like that on the panel sometimes, I think you could sway them pretty easily. But yeah, I hear
reason
you.
A voice like that is not there, though. I mean, let's be real.
Kyle, you should just move there and be that voice.
Be the voice of reason.
Yeah, on TYT. Maybe I'll start watching again.
Skin jank and wear his skin.
Because I gave up TYT a few years ago. I used to watch it all the time.
Yeah.
Well, on like 85% of things, though, when they're talking about the economy, when they're talking about a bunch of other stuff, I do think they do a good job. But yeah, every now and then, I thought they dropped the ball on the Russia thing that we were just talking about. There were some things on Russia where they kind of fell hook, line, and sinker for this line of like, ooh, ooga booga, you're going to have Vladimir Putin controlling his puppet, Donald Trump. And it's like, that's just so goofy. I don't know how you fall for that.
That's just like Alex Jones shit of the left.
It is.
That's just garbage.
Yeah.
Going back to the lesser of two evils thing for me, I agree with you that Hillary Clinton probably was overall the lesser of two evils. But the reason I didn't vote is because I kind of try and look down the road. Yeah, you kind of touched on it. Hillary's not going to fix these things. She may not exacerbate them, but she's not going to fix these things. And when you look at the challenges we face as a country, as a species, climate change being maybe first and foremost among them, economic disaster looming just around the corner. I mean, we need somebody there that's addressing these things. And why would I vote for somebody who I know that Hillary Clinton is not going to significantly impact climate change?
Well,
she might be better than Trump.
Yeah, she would. The thing about that is she wouldn't rip up the Paris Agreement, and it already looks like Trump is going to come through on that promise to rip up the Paris Agreement. And meanwhile, you're right, we need to go further than the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement isn't enough, but step number one would be not repealing that, and it looks like he's going to effectively do that. So
the Paris Agreement, to me, having read it, seems like kind of a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
It's funny that
totally.
It's funny that Trump had brought up China as far as climate change, because China's actually as far as renewable energy is, that's where it's all going now. They're building so much wind and solar stuff because their country is ultra polluted. They have to deal with it.
Someone needs to make not a good of the planet hippie argument to Trump. Someone needs to make an economic argument to Trump about why it's important to do this.
You know who our last hope is to save the planet right now? Bill O'Reilly. He did a segment on his show where he basically said he threw it in at the end of a segment. He knows his audience and he's not a dumb guy, so he just kind of threw it in at the end of one of his segments. He's like, oh yeah, and by the way, Donald Trump shouldn't pull out of the Paris Agreement because it would buy him some goodwill overseas. Anyway, moving on.
Wow.
Now, they actually are really good friends. Like, they go to basketball games and shit. They were hanging out before he even ran for office. So I feel like Bill O'Reilly might have to call him up and try to, talk him out of doing the dumbest shit. And how sad is it that the future of fucking humanity might depend on Bill O'Reilly?
Yeah, we all knew it would come to this eventually. Come on,
Bill, you're our only hope, dude. Save us.
Fuck it, Bill. Do it live.
I would have guessed Captain Planet over Bill O'Reilly. That's what I thought you were going to say. Our last hope to save the planet is Captain Planet.
We do need Captain Planet, man.
We do.
We need one more person here so we can, well, actually, yeah, Earth, Fire, Wind, Water.
Heart.
No
one wants to be Heart.
Nobody wants
Paul,
to be
you got to be Heart.
I'm not being Heart. Fuck
you.
you.
Paul's Heart. Paul's Heart.
Fuck you.
You're Heart. You got faith in the heart, dude.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope. I refuse to
All
take
right,
up
well,
the
we
Paul's
can't.
Heart.
We can't save the world.
Yeah, we can't form.
Also, we lack the rings and shit.
We can't form Captain Planet because Paul's too proud to be Heart. Thanks.
Fine, I'll be Heart.
Thank you.
I'll be
now
Heart.
we can save the fucking planet.
Our
Thanks,
powers
Paul.
combined. Let's do it.
Earth.
Hey, TJ, by the way, another area where I thought Trump was better, you touched on it there, was Syria. I mean, Hillary with her no-fly zone and her safe zone in Syria. And you know what I find hilarious, too? There's so many people who are, like, huge in the anti-Islam crowd where it's, like, all they talk about. And they would say, oh, no, we need to, like, topple Assad. And meanwhile, the majority of the rebels at this point are fucking Islamists and jihadists. And there's this massive cognitive dissonance where people are like, yeah, I hate Islam and I hate terrorists, but yeah, let's side with them temporarily to topple this strong man in the Middle East.
So
like,
one of the
breakdown?
things that most blew my mind about Hillary Clinton was the Petraeus thing. Petraeus being in her corner and him fucking having been the one who's like, what we should do?
General Petraeus.
Hillary's
I was just thinking that.
He fucking is General Petraeus. He fucking wanted to arm Al-Qaeda.
That's
because he thought they would fight some other enemy.
Look at Libya.
That just shows to me like a terrible. I mean, like, look. Say what you want about Trump. I feel like if someone came to Trump and said, we need to arm Al-Qaeda, Trump would be like, get the fuck out of here.
Wasn't that a magazine ad, though?
No,
General Petraeus?
I think you're right, TJ.
And they got mad at that. Sorry, you had Kyle.
No, I think you're totally right about that. That there's this weird Hillary Clinton. She's got so much neocon influence in her foreign policy. And the thing about it that like really turned me off to her was she's totally unrepentant about it. Like, she didn't change her mind on the Iraq War until fucking 2014. There were Republicans who said, you know what, I fucked up way before her. So she changed her mind super late on that. And then the main lesson from that was what? Okay, even if there's a strongman who's like a horrific strongman in the Middle East, you don't topple them because there's a really good chance that what comes next is going to be worse. And it's going to be fundamentalist Islam as opposed to some sort of secular authoritarianism. And this isn't to, not be sympathetic to the victims of people living under Saddam. Of course I feel horrible for them. But why the fuck should the United States of America do offensive wars against countries that didn't attack us and then henceforth make the situation worse? And that's exactly what she wants to do in Syria. And she doesn't even bother to think for a second about the parallels between the Iraq War and Libya and now Syria.
Probably probably because the reason she didn't admit it was a problem until 2014 is because that's when she realized like this is unpalatable of voters.
Well, I mean, I think she realized that when she lost to Obama.
There used to be a debate on the.
I don't think she. Honestly, in her soul, I don't know if she knows it was a mistake. I think she still thinks like, yeah.
Well, remember,
it was just the beginning.
There was a debate about when the Iraq War started. There was a debate, but then was a certain point where even pretty much Republicans and conservatives just were like, yeah, Iraq was a fucking disaster. We spent a bunch of money there. There's a power vacuum. It's still unstable. That's kind of ISIS in Syria. This has been a huge clusterfuck. Like I was saying about Libya earlier, it's like, what happened there? Gaddafi's gone. Yay, power vacuum. Bunch of people fighting for power. So if you topple Assad, all you get is all these groups are now fighting.
It's not like we don't know what happens when you do this.
Right.
We've seen what happens.
We saw Russia do it in Afghanistan. It's like we totally ignore history. Like, people in America are so fucking stupid. They ignore history, or they don't know it.
They probably didn't even know. I bet the
it's like the war in Iraq.
didn't even know
the
that.
majority of people supported it, but they don't think of the long-term implications of going to war. They don't think about anything. It's just kill them.
We took the Petraeus route in Afghanistan in the 70s and 80s, arming the Mujahideen to fight Russia. Yeah. And how did that turn out for us?
Great.
That's right. They turned those guns on us. But by the way, there's another area where Trump, in the primary debates, man, he was fucking throwing haymakers at Jeb Bush's face. He was
God.
The towers came down onto your brother. He didn't keep us safe. And
the way he
did, that was beautiful.
The dismissive nature of the way he treated Jeb Bush was probably my favorite part of this campaign.
Isn't it true?
100%.
Isn't it true that George W. just didn't vote for president?
Yeah, he did.
That's what they said.
No, I think he voted for Hillary.
You think so?
I read a report from the New York Times reporter that said he didn't fill
that he voted
out for
Republican,
president.
except he just left it blank.
But I don't know.
President, but who knows?
All I'll say is this. Maybe I'm making news here. All I'll say is this. I have a friend whose father is a pretty wealthy guy, and he's fairly well connected, to the point where he actually recently met George H.W. Bush. Now, he's like 9,000 years old and like barely talks, but he was able to have a little bit of a conversation with him, and he told me after the fact, because I had said to him, I'm like, oh, you heard H.W. is voting for Hillary, right? Because there was a story about that in the news. And he's like, yeah. It's not just H.W. It's also George W. Bush.
Do you think
they're buddies with the Clintons? So
do you think that Trump probably voted for Hillary for Senate?
Oh, back when she ran for Senate, of course.
Yeah. That's so weird
totally.
to think.
Yeah, no, dude, there's video of him in like fucking 2008. Yeah. No, it wasn't 2008. It was way after that. It was when she was Secretary of State. He was saying like, oh, she's one of the best Secretaries of State ever.
She's doing a good job.
Smart business.
Smart lady.
Business.
Smart lady.
It's so funny because for the past year, all you heard is Trump talk about how garbage she is.
Unqualified.
But he probably voted for her. You know he gave her money.
Remember he said he was just using him. He's like, you're a puppet. You're my puppet.
No, I'm telling you, there's something about Trump. To him and to his followers, contradictions don't exist. They're not a thing. He just overrides contradictions. So what he'll do is he'll say the exact diametrically opposed thing one day after the next. But what happens is his base, since he just like alpha male, arrogantly, bombastically says it, his followers will go, I don't know, I'm just going to listen to whichever thing I liked more and just assume he believes the thing that more coincides with my views.
Yeah,
and then that's how we win.
We've gotten to this point where we just kind of expect, I think, politicians to flip-flop. Yeah. I think we created Trump in that way, because there used to be a time where when a politician flip-flopped on a major, in fact, in recent history,
John Kerry,
the big flip-flop.
He's a flipper and a flopper.
Right. I mean, you remember that shit? Nowadays, we just kind of expect politicians to say one thing out of one side of their mouth, and then out of the other side of their mouth they say something else.
I blame the media for this because, and we touched on this earlier, but, to me, I think that their outrage meter is totally broken. So, like, they will spend a fucking, 3 days, they will go on and on about how Donald Trump uses bad language and he curses. There was even a Republican ad during the primary where they would show him, cursing a bunch, and the implication of the ad was like, oh my goodness, he's so unhinged, how could anybody vote for him? But meanwhile, you spent 3 fucking days on that, but then when he went out there and said we should get ourselves out of the Geneva Conventions, there were fucking crickets. So when your outrage meter is broken as this giant media institution in the United States, well, you're the ones that are really driving the conversation and the discussion and the debate. And when the conversation is geared towards that guy uses bad language as opposed to that guy is basically admitting he's a terrorist, well, then people are going to vote for him because they go, I use bad language too, man. That ain't nothing to me.
You know, the Republicans also were like, hey, Trump's wife posed naked. Do you want a first lady like this? I think
like, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
The media is,
me too.
The
Hottest first lady ever.
The media is all clickbait now. They took a page out of the advertisers and the people who study these algorithms are like, what do people want to see? Because they have all this data. Because they're looking at all this and they're saying, hey, how can we get people to click? And that's how they get people to click, by ignoring important things like Geneva Convention boring, which is like, look at Trump's wife. Was she naked? Oh my God, click now.
Yeah, that one actually pisses me off too, because I have no doubt that if President Obama had an immigrant wife who spoke broken English and was showing her fucking titties and her ass for half her goddamn life, every right-winger in the country would have said, family values, morals, and traditions, they're breaking it, they're not good Christians.
Yeah.
Just you talking about that, TJ had to take his jacket.
Yeah, I'm like,
a little warm in here.
Yeah. Like titties and
ass, you say.
Melania's titties.
No, I wanted to ask you about this. A lot of people say, Trump's a dumbass and he can't talk for shit. And that's kind of true. But I went back today and I watched some Bushisms. And I would say that Trump, in terms of being eloquent, totally demolishes George W. Bush.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, that guy couldn't get through a fucking sentence.
It's true.
No, I don't know if
the English language.
I don't know if eloquent is the right word, because I don't think Trump is more eloquent. I just think when he talks, you know how when some people talk, it like pierces through and it gets right into your brain and you're like, oh, I get what you're saying. And sometimes when other people talk, you have to like force yourself to pay attention to like hear them finish their thought. With Trump, he's not eloquent. But like when he talks, you're going, oh, I can listen to him.
Yeah.
Like
I would say he's comparatively eloquent when I compare him to George W. Bush, who literally could not speak.
But it should have been a sign for us to pivot slightly away from that. It should have been a sign for us that like Ronald Reagan got elected. He was a fucking actor. And I mean, eventually he was governor too, and then he became president. But he was an actor who was viewed as like not a very good actor, and he ended up becoming president. George W. Bush, who was a fuck up most of his life, he ended up becoming president. So like when you really look at what happened with Trump here, it's not all that surprising.
No, it isn't.
It does seem like if you're kind of a loser or don't really have a lot going for you, the Republican Party is the one to run in.
You just have to study the language that Trump uses. He just uses very simplistic, very direct language.
Sure.
Bad, worst, best.
No, you're so right. I did a story on that. There was some program or whatever that it calculates what grade level you speak at, and Trump was speaking at like a 4th grade level, I think. Or maybe a 3rd grade level, but all people on the left were like, ha ha ha, you so stupid, blah blah blah. No, my takeaway in that story and half my commentary was, no, that's actually a plus, because just because you're speaking at like a low grade level doesn't actually mean that the content of what you're saying isn't there. Like
we had or have a game show in this country called "Are You Smarter Than a 4th Grader?"
Yeah.
So I mean,
fifth grader.
I don't know. I don't watch that shit.
I mean,
but,
look.
I mean, in a country like that,
I think Trump was brilliant to speak the way that he did, because we live in a country where the educational system is totally broken, where people like simplistic, false dichotomies. They like the black and white nature of being right.
Yeah. No. Totally.
So he spoke to them on their level. He spoke to them. He spoke to them how they wanted to be spoken to.
And they liked it. They really liked that.
Yeah, I mean, like this era, I think, of politicians condescending to the American public or pretending that the American public cares about things that they don't. I mean, how much of these debates were punctuated by long deserts where they discussed shit that nobody cared about? You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah. Trump kind of broke the system in a good way in that sense, because think about it. Now, like the way that he talks, honestly, the way that we talk is like even for politicians. So the age of like even Obama is a really good speaker, but let's face it, he's kind of boring. He kind of drags on and it takes him forever to get a point out, and it's like flowery rhetoric. But now, like the kind of short, punchy way of talking, whether it be Trump, whether it be us, whether it be somebody like Bill Maher, like that's now in. That's the thing where people go, oh, that's more authentic, and I'm on board with that. I don't want like a long...
you can believe in...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, like, I love this election. I'm kind of sad to see it go. I'm glad that there's still enough meat on that bone to keep talking about it a little.
Oh, do we live in America? Don't worry.
Yeah, and I know
there's
that
plenty more stupid
by the
shit
time
coming.
this one finally wraps up, people will already be looking at 2020 like, well, who's going to run in 2020?
I think the Democrats might be fucked for 2020 unless, you know, you have the Bernie Sanders wing of the party take over, because you mentioned it before. They're already floating Tim Kaine, man. They're already floating Tim fucking Kaine.
Do you think he'll get through the primary process, though?
No, he'll get -8 votes. I don't think his family would vote for him.
TJ and I discussed this shortly after the election. If Hillary would have had Bernie as her running mate, there's a way better chance she would have won.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I
She
think
could have had.
I
She
think
could have had
would
Michigan.
She's too proud. I think he would have said yes if she would have asked
Look,
him.
you know, the reality remember that Trump said, I'm going to win Wisconsin, I'm going to win Pennsylvania, I'm going to win Michigan, I'm going to win Ohio. And then he went and did it because obviously the sentiment there, and I think there's a lot of people that kind of saw it, because I remember Michael Moore and other people in unions were talking about this, that like, look, on the ground, there's a lot of support for this guy, and you guys are just kind of ignoring that and gloss over it. No, that Hillary's got the firewall, she's going to win, this is in the back. No one was talking about that. But then look at Michigan. Michigan, Bernie beats Hillary. And 538 had it 99% Hillary.
Yep.
She didn't even campaign in Wisconsin. She didn't step fucking foot in Wisconsin. And also, there was a great article the other day that like laid out the numbers on it. He just flat out outworked her too. He was doing fucking so many rallies every day, and meanwhile she would go out there with like Beyonce and LeBron James.
She took Wisconsin
like,
for
I'm anointed.
granted.
Yeah, I think she had to, though, because you remember before the election when we were looking at that electoral map, Ben, and we saw how they were sending all those people to Michigan.
Yeah.
I think she saw the writing on the wall in Michigan. I think that they had done some study there that showed that, man, this might fucking flip red.
Have they determined who won Michigan yet?
I don't know.
I think
Trump did.
No, Trump did win it, but they're not going to finish counting the votes until like 2039. They just take forever. I don't know why.
Can I ask you a question, Kyle? I'm sorry to interrupt. If you had something more to say, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
We've talked about this. For the Democratic Party going forward, let's say 2020. Let's look forward a little bit. What kind of who in the Democratic Party? Are there anybody? You're way more politically minded than me. You've got your finger on the pulse of this shit. Are there any politicians in the Democratic Party or surrounding the Democratic Party that you think? The one name that came to my mind was Alan Grayson. He's a guy that I've liked for a long time. That I think is a firebrand politician, a good leftist. I don't agree with him on everything, but I think he could win. Is there another name that you would add to that list, or more names?
So I also love Alan Grayson. Alan Grayson unfortunately lost in the primary when he was running for Senate. He was going to try to be senator from Florida, and he lost to, I think, Patrick Murphy, a Democrat, in the primary. And then Patrick Murphy got his ass handed to him by Marco Rubio in the election. And I remember Grayson was like tweeting, like taunting, like, I told you this fucking idiot was going to lose to him. Meanwhile, Grayson, I think he would have had a better chance in the general. But there were some scandals that popped up towards the end on Grayson. So unfortunately, I think he's pretty much gone now.
What is a scandal at this point? Come on.
Well, for some reason they stick to Democrats more than they stick to Republicans. I don't know why that is, but
it's because we're a bunch of crybabies on the left.
Because Republicans just know how to handle the public. They're just like it's like the Trump is like, no, I didn't do it.
Look at Arnold.
Arnold,
man, he got hit.
Oh God, Arnold.
Yeah,
dude, Arnold was like the best, man. Arnold, like I remember there's an interview with Arnold.
He had a bastard child,
dude. They were talking. They were talking about like the preparedness of the state of California to fight wildfires. He's like, there's no problem. Come here. You were just trying to find the problem. There's no problem. It's great state. We are doing wonderful things here.
You voted for him.
I did, because he was fucking funny, dude.
Man, that must have been like the first election you could vote in.
It was.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
The first time Scotty ever cast a vote was for Schwarzenegger.
The governor.
Wasn't it like Gary Coleman versus Arnold Schwarzenegger versus a porn star or something like that?
It was horrible.
It was a ridiculous circus of an election. Like this one.
Anyway, to go back to your question, I think Tulsi Gabbard, if she wanted to, run for higher office, I think she could do it. She's a firebrand Democrat. I also think now Elizabeth Warren's kind of up there in age too, but I think if she were to run, she could be very successeful as well. Bernie actually hasn't shut the door. Bernie hasn't shut the door for 2020.
Sure,
but I mean,
the door. He's too old.
I think
he's too old.
a compelling third-party candidate could have taken this.
if they let him in the debates, if they let him in the debates, no, that's true. Like Ross Perot was the last successful independent candidate, and he got, I think it was 18% of the vote, which is ridiculously high. And the thing is, that was when they allowed third-party candidates into the debate, and what happened is you had the Democratic Party and the Republican Party take over the debates after that, and they basically agreed, let's not let anybody in. Let's only have us and you. So
That's
Democrats
such garbage.
Yeah, don't you have like 15% in the polls or something?
I wish someone wish one of these networks or something would just fucking say like, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna syndicate a debate between the other people.
Could you have imagined?
Why can't you do that?
Could you have imagined?
What's the fucking problem?
They don't want to because, dude,
a few did, but they didn't get any press. They tried it on RT. I know TYT tried to set up Gary Johnson versus Jill Stein, but Gary Johnson turned it down because TYT leans more in favor of Jill Stein. So there was a few that tried, but it just didn't. It never panned out, and they never got fucking coverage either. And even I'm guilty of that. Like I tried to cover them as much as I could, but I couldn't find any fucking stories on them because nobody covers them.
That is crazy though, because Jill Stein was interviewed by John Stossel, who openly supported Gary Johnson throughout the interview, but Jill Stein was willing to do that. So that is kind of strange that Gary Johnson wouldn't do that, but whatever.
Why does America, with such a strong tradition of leftism, have such a dearth of young, vibrant, democratic leftist candidates? Like,
they're
why is
there,
that?
but they're not organized. That's the problem. There's a lot of people out there, even listening to us talk right now, who would probably make fucking awesome politicians, but there's no democratic infrastructure, and certainly no democratic infrastructure that's kind to actual liberals. The first question they ask you when you run is, how much money can you raise? Who do you know? So it's all geared towards, it really is like an oligarchy, man. I mean, there's a system set up that waters it down and gives us this veneer of democracy, but
so are we fucked? Are we fucked, Kyle? Like in the long run? Are you? I'm a pessimist, and I've maintained for a long time that we are well and truly fucked, that we are in the twilight hours of the Western civilization. We're in autumn now. We're winding down. Do you share that sentiment with me, or are you more hopeful for the future?
My honest answer is I don't know. Sure. But I think that it could go either way, but I feel like the only way that it'll work is if we all get our fucking act together. Yeah. So I think that you need to have passionate young liberals rise up who understand the issues and care about the people and want to be the next Bernie Sanders. They need to rise up and get involved, and instead of because we all know it, usually people who are fairly intelligent, they're also more skeptical, and they're liable to think oh, things aren't going well, I'm just gonna smoke a blunt, eat some Cheetos, and watch fucking Cinemax or some shit, which we all want to do. But you gotta, if you want to actually save fucking civilization and what we're doing here, you have to get involved and you have to be politically active. And we're the only ones who are going to do it. It reminds me of, and you guys are familiar with this, you're recording out of a new studio tonight. I'm sitting in the office of my new studio. Yeah. And it's like the amount of tedious fucking effort and work that goes into just doing something simple like moving into a new studio. Like the effort, you always can, when you conceptualize it, it's like, oh, I'll just get a new studio and then that'll be that. It's like, no, motherfucker, you got to worry about the microphones, you got to worry about the electronics, you got to worry about the lighting, you got to worry about, the design of the studio, you got to worry about this, you got to worry about that, you got to pay this person, that person. So there's so many things to dot the I's and cross the T's. And this is a really long way of me saying that needs to be done in the United States of America for people running for office. They need
you think we're capable at this point? You think think we have an electorate that is informed enough to flip the script on this?
I do think it's possible, and here's why. When you look at the opinion polls, the American people, while they don't know many historical facts, they're not masochists. So in other words, they know what's good for them. If you poll them, a majority of them want single-payer health care. A majority of them want free education. A majority of them want to raise taxes on the rich. A majority of them are intrigued by this idea of a political revolution, which Bernie talked about, which is basically getting money out of politics. So the people, their gut feeling on the issues is kind of correct. like how we should treat people, raise the minimum wage. 80% of people want to raise the minimum wage. So like you have all the people are all on the right side of that. So then it's just a matter of, okay, now you need to get involved and try to make those changes. And the one thing that's blocking everything right now, it really is just the massive amounts of corporate money in our system. I mean, once that domino falls, if we can actually get it so that there's no more corporate money in the system, well then absolutely we can fucking fix our problems, and we'd fix them pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think I have a more pessimistic view of the intelligence and involvement of the American people. I don't see the American people as a reactionary force. Maybe they will be if shit gets bad enough, but I don't want things to get there. I see the writing on the wall. I'm sure you do, Kyle. Shit's getting bad. It's probably going to get worse in the future. If we don't do something now to stop it, or at least staunch the flow of blood,
Paul,
we're fucked.
Stephen Hawking says we have 1,000 years to get off this planet.
That's what I'm saying. I think Stephen Hawking is right. I think we've got about 1,000 years to get the fuck off of this planet, or we're doomed anyway.
What's with this we stuff?
Yeah,
I won't be around
we
in
as
1,000
a
years.
species.
I might be around.
I think Kyle
No, you won't.
Dude, Kyle made a great point,
No,
though.
you
Like,
won't. God, you're so delusional.
You take issues like single-payer health care, and you would think it's like the way it's debated, like it's really, really
Depends
close.
on how science goes.
But it's really not close. But to me, it's like reminiscent of like the Roman Empire. I mean, it's divide and conquer. It's like you target certain segments, so people say, wait a minute, I'm going to call my congressman because they're going to tell me what to do with health care and tell me I can't have this or that. I don't want to lose my health care. I'm going to lose health care, so I don't need single payer, which is like, no, everyone will get a standard of health care.
Scientists invent Oreos that are basically the same thing as exercise.
Sweet.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sold.
Well,
there's also the scapegoating issue on the right. Like, I feel like Trump and a bunch of Republican politicians, they're really good at talking to people who really are they're in a bad place. They lost their factory job. They feel hopeless. But you'll have Republican politicians go, oh, well, it's obviously the fault of the Hispanic immigrant who fucking works for like $6 an hour and is like even more vulnerable and powerless than you. Like, blame them, and then that'll fix everything. No, that's the oldest fucking trick in the book, that people who are higher than you on the economic ladder point to people who are below you on the economic ladder and go, oh, you guys fight amongst yourself and I'll run out the back door with all the money.
You know, so, Kyle, I was on Twitter the other day, and I tweeted out something, and I kind of said it as a joke at the time, but the more I really reflect on it, the more it's true. I said, I'm trying to figure out whether I hate the right wing or left wing more, because being a liberal, and I also said this in the tweet, being liberal doesn't sway me in their favor anymore. And I really do feel like I just hate both sides. Like, how can I, like, can anything be accomplished?
Any rational person would.
Can anything be accomplished from a mentality of just total misanthropy? Or do I have to let that go?
Well, I don't see. The thing is, I don't think the where your position is, like the ideology that you represent, I don't think it's as lonely as you might think it is, because there are so many people who are, basically social democrats. They believe in social democracy. They want to set up like a Scandinavian type system here economically. But then when it comes to social issues, they're just libertarian, and they're like, let's leave everybody the fuck alone and let them do whatever they want, and stop fucking bitching. Your feelings are not more important than the
So do we need to start our own
fact.
party, or do we just need to take over the Democrats?
Well,
how do we get the SJWs out of there? I want them gone. They're hurting everything.
I wish.
They're destroying it. No, they really are. Like, I know people just treat it like, oh, it's just TJ harping on the SJWs. No, I'm like, really, they're actually a problem. They're a legitimate problem, because America looks at us.
You're totally right.
America looks at the left, and they see these fucking college kids whining because it says nigger and Huck Finn, and then, and then they look at us and say, oh, they're ridiculous. They're a bunch of absurd retards.
Well, do you remember that story we read where the university established, I forget which one it was, established a safe space, but it was in a basement, and they wanted this fifth floor one, so they're like,
yeah, we covered that. That's ridiculous.
And we're just like, what?
Like, what do we do about that, Kyle? How do we fix that?
First of all, I just want to say that I think that is basically the root problem there. Is it's just super duper duper lazy liberalism. So in other words, these are young kids who feel like, I want to make a difference, and I want to feel like I'm part of something, and I want to be part of some sort of movement. But instead of like doing the hard work necessary to like learn about shit that should actually be fixed, like, I don't know, for example, we give billions of dollars to Saudi Arabia in weapons, and then they give it to Al Qaeda and they massacre Yemeni civilians. Yep. Like, they don't want to do the hard work to learn about things that actually need to be fixed in the world. So they just default to, well, what's happening in front of me now? Oh, well, there was a right-leaning college student that said something that was offensive to a trans person. So, now I'm going to spend the next 3 weeks shaming them and, telling them to fucking die because they're anti-trans. So it's laziness. But I think that can be fixed. I think that those people can be driven out. I think that it's possible to take over the Democratic Party with really issues-focused people. And I honestly think the evidence of that is Bernie Sanders, because honestly, I sold his followers a little short because I kind of assumed, well, look, I mean, I'm sure there's a decent chunk of them that are kind of social justice warriors and they care about, they're too much into the authoritarian leftism.
For sure.
But no. But I think I was wrong about that because the more time went by, it became clear based off the attacks Hillary was making on Bernie and based on all the attacks that her fucking followers were parroting that almost all of the social justice warriors were in Hillary's movement and they were calling Bernie supporters sexist and they were using every shitty argument imaginable that was like a social justice warrior argument. So sure. I think that the base of people who were supporting Bernie, that represents almost exactly what you're talking about, which is this group of people who are like, let's focus on healthcare, let's focus on getting the money out of politics, let's focus on all these issues that would make people's lives better, and let's not get, caught up in silliness on college campuses about somebody being offended.
The one thing that I didn't like about... Ben, you wanted to say something.
No. I actually wanted to move on, so if you have a thought, go ahead.
I have one thing I want to say one thing about Bernie before we move on.
Okay.
The Bernie Sanders thing, the first time I saw something about Bernie Sanders, something that attacked him that actually stuck for me was when he let the BLM people take over his rally. Now, Paul and I have some disagreements about this, whatever, but that to me was maybe he's a little too weak. And then when I saw him give Hillary the endorsement and just, here we go, well, it's anything's worth it to defeat Trump, so Hillary, everybody. Then I'm like, okay, yeah, he's definitely weaker than I thought. I love his policies, but on a personal level, I do kind of wish he was a little bit more like Trump, honestly. When it comes to his personality. I wish that he had Trump's personality, but Bernie's policies.
Yeah.
That's what I would really... That to me would be the ideal politician. Okay, there's my guy right there.
Yeah, I think
I don't know if that exists.
You stumbled across your next video, and you need to call it Left Trump.
Yeah, dude. We need to go to... you know what we need to do? We need to open a portal to an alternate universe and go kidnap liberal Trump and bring him here.
Yep.
So,
liberal Trump was Trump at one point.
I know, you're right. Yeah. That's true.
Kyle, are you familiar with Tommy Sotomayor by any chance?
Vaguely. I know that he's a black conservative, right?
Yeah,
yes.
Well,
Yes.
I just want to let you know that as a white liberal, you are actually one of the most racist people in America.
This is true.
Of course, totally.
Yeah, and we're gonna play a video really quick here. First, I have to play the.
Should we tell Kyle before we play the video what
let
happened?
me play the intro here really quick. There he is. Oh no, that's G-Man. Where is it?
Oh wow, racist fucking Ben.
Yeah, it's me. I'm a total.
They all look alike to Ben. All the darkies don't look alike.
It's
very very witty, crazy people.
So should I sum it up real quick for Kyle, or would you like
go
to,
ahead.
Ben?
No.
So the last show that we had, we learned through our chat that Tommy Sotomayor was also streaming live at the same time, and we had just come up with this great joke. We have a theory here that Anderson Cooper and Glenn Beck are actually in a relationship, a closeted gay relationship together, and we came up with a name. What was that name?
Glanderson Booper.
Glanderson Booper. We're a bunch of stoners over here, so we thought that was hilarious.
And we live in Washington now, so we're stoned all the time.
Of course. So we decided that because Tommy was live, we would send our people over there to, spam Glanderson Booper for a little while in his chat, and this was his reaction to that.
Yeah. This is what he says. This is
and I want to point out, all we did was say Glanderson Booper.
Yep.
We didn't say anything else.
We didn't send anybody.
The one thing we said, the woman on his show, we said she talked too much.
She did.
And that's it. We didn't say anything else about her.
Nope.
Bro, that is so sexist. You're so sexist.
Yeah. Oh, we're also racist.
That's how racist we are.
Yeah, here we go.
There you go. There's Tommy. He's a good man.
He's such garbage.
What's going on, everyone? It's your boy, Tommy Sotomayor. want to be really quick because I don't really
What's
know how to
with the porn
present
music in the background?
But
he always
tonight
does
I
every
did a show with a young
video.
lady.
Yeah, there's always something in the background. I've heard him put the Doors in like Depeche Mode in the background before too.
Yeah, and this guy's legitimately been on shows and shit.
He's been on the Blaze before.
Yeah, he's been on the Blaze.
Yeah, I don't know
That's
why
true.
Fox hasn't hired him. He's a black conservative. He's one of like 8 of them in the country. So
there you go.
Yeah, but he's the first to call someone racist that criticizes him.
Yep.
That's
he
right.
does
That's
the like. He plays both sides.
He does.
Yep.
The fun thing about Tommy is he'll sit there and he'll use his blackness to criticize black people in a way
Especially
that white
women.
racists like.
Black women.
Right, yeah.
But
Totally.
then if someone attacks him who's white, he immediately plays the race card against them like, they hate me because I'm black. So he tries to have it both ways. It's really a hideous
All
abomination.
we did was have people go to his chat room and spam Glanderson Boop.
That's all. There's
did.
video evidence that that's all that happened.
No.
But listen to how he characterizes it here.
By the name of Melanin Sutek. And what she and I were talking about was how it appears that pro-blacks, the people who are supposed to be looking out for the best interests of blacks.
He's obsessed with race too. Everything has to do with we're all separated by our races.
Yeah, everybody has a lens that they look through the world through, and Tommy's is definitely race.
Yep.
Standing up for blacks seem to be only standing up for the most savage and degenerate blacks. A topic that you'd assume not many white people would want to have a part of.
We didn't.
But during the show, my chat room was flooded with stupid comments
Glanderson Booper
that only a white boy could love.
Only a
white dude.
Yeah.
Like
no black person can ever find Glanderson Booper amusing.
Yet again, Tommy, you're a racist.
Yeah, what's
huge
up with
racist.
that? Only a white boy could love it? What does
just
that even
wait.
mean?
Dude,
It's going to get so much worse.
Yeah.
Everybody knows these comments. White dudes really get off by being jack-offs and jerk-offs.
Yeah.
Just a-holes and
Wait,
stupid
hold on,
that only
wait.
white
Which is
people
true.
comment.
That's
Kyle.
such a generalization. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Just wait.
I mean, just because he's dealing with 4 white dudes in us that do enjoy being jack-offs and jerk-offs doesn't mean that all, not all whites,
Yeah.
Hashtag
not
And the
not
funny
all
part
whites.
about this is, I can say whatever I want to say about black folks. The one thing black people don't do is go and mess around with
no,
white people.
according to you, you can't say whatever you want to say about black people because they threaten your life and you have to wear a bulletproof vest when you leave your fucking house.
That's right. He did make a video that you may have missed, Kyle, where he talked about how because he gets so much hate online
From black people. he said.
people,
Yes.
that he was afraid to walk to his mailbox and actually made a video in a bulletproof Kevlar vest to prove to us that he was
with a bunch of guns.
He actually went after me one time. I had done a segment because I read a really interesting article that had like a dozen different examples of pictures of like white people rioting after a sporting event. And so I did a segment comparing like what happened when there was a riot after like some innocent black person was killed, comparing that to like white people rioting after like a hockey game or some shit.
Yeah.
And he did a segment, and I think he said that I was like cooning for black people or some shit.
yeah.
I don't even know what that means. I'm like, what does that mean? What do you say?
Yeah.
Slavery is a choice, by the way.
Well,
Tommy has said that slavery is a choice. He's like, you can die or you can fight. So it was
Slavery,
a choice.
slavery
It's
is by
hilarious.
definition not a choice. It's forced labor.
It's a choice. God damn it.
When we spammed his chat, it was him and a black woman discussing
Whatever.
some matter
We
of.
don't even know.
Yeah, and
Tommy's a retard,
We don't even
dude.
care. But he's about to claim that we called them both niggers.
We never did that.
Yeah, we never did. Yes.
If you skip,
you can
Yeah,
see
hold
it.
on. Let's just get to it.
if you
We don't
skip
mess
to
around with the white
two-thirds-
gamers, but the white gamers love to come over to black people and call them
gamers.
niggers
What?
every 5
Gamers?
seconds.
gamers.
Little white boys get a kick out of that while they're sitting in their homes. But the problem is nobody wants to point out who's doing it.
What?
Oh, God.
I don't know.
Hold on a second.
This is how incompetent he is.
This is the
His
part of the
washing
video you
machine.
edit, Tommy.
His washing machine is going off, and he leaves that in. It's a touch.
Yeah, if you skip to about 2/3 through this video, he really starts accusing us of sending people because it's like a 13-minute
Washing
fucking video.
machine.
Oh, okay.
Don't want you guys to
I
think
think it
I
starts
have that
earlier than
9-volt
that.
smoke
Yeah, it does.
detector
Let's
battery
just do it.
problem.
We only have to listen to about the first 3 minutes
But
of
to
this.
go back to it, the problem is the people who are doing it are
White
these
liberals.
jerk-off white boys messing with black folks.
No.
No.
And it kind of made me think. Tonight, what will make these dudes, and they want me to say their names, and I refuse to say their names.
No.
So what they've done?
Glanderson Booper.
Yeah, the whole point was we wanted you to say Glanderson Booper, so we
say
had
Glanderson
footage of
Booper.
that.
Tommy, if you want this to end, just say Glanderson Booper.
Glanderson Booper. Glanderson Booper. Glanderson Booper.
We need you to validate the news's best power couple.
How big is this guy's audience?
Big.
It's
Bigger
pretty
than
big.
you would fucking imagine.
Yeah.
He has about at one point he has. It's kind of hard to say because he has several different channels. But on this particular channel, he has about 265,000 people.
He'd be over 1 million if he hadn't have been flagged.
This guy is not. He's not small beans.
Yeah.
They've decided to, because they were supposed to be more popular than me. Everybody said he's got almost 1 million subscribers and they get 4,000 people per show. Okay, they're bigger than me.
Cool.
So I don't know why they continue to mess with me.
In more ways
to the
than
point
one.
of where one of them.
We mess with you because you're fucking ridiculous.
Tommy, you're a butthurt little bitch. You didn't have to shut down your chat. People were just saying shit you didn't like. Dude, how did it hurt you?
If I'm sitting right here in front of our chat, it's 100% gibberish and nonsense.
Oh,
we're not trying to censor it. We don't care.
And not to mention the fact that I lost my train of thought. Just
have started going to my IMDb, and every time he does a little episode of his online stuff, he tags it to my IMDb, so it looks like I was on their show.
Stuff too later
but
on.
they're more popular than me. Why would they take out all this time?
We don't.
Last night they had people come into my chat room during a live show.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the people called us all kinds of niggers. Now these white boys are supposed to be liberals. As a matter of fact, he made a video trying to go off on me because I said blacks could have fought slavery. He was supposed to be Mr. Liberal taking up for blacks, and black people going.
You said slavery was a choice.
Yeah.
Tommy.
Was a choice.
Your video was slavery was a choice.
Yep. Black people chose slavery.
Yep. Yeah. He made a video saying that.
Also, Tommy, plenty of black people fought slavery. They were killed.
Yeah,
That's
and
what happened.
he false DMCA'd us for making fun of that video.
That's what I was going to say.
no.
Tommy seems utterly bewildered that we would ever have any vendetta against him. You crippled our fucking channel for a month on a bullshit DMCA, Tommy.
In this video, he pretends like he graciously rescinded.
He did
No,
not.
he did not.
around saying, yeah, you didn't mess with them white boys. They're going to do this and that to you. So black people were championing these white boys, these liberals. Because, liberals love black folks. But there's nobody more racist than these liberal white dudes. And it was proven tonight. And throughout the comment section, they were able to get 4,000 people who were watching their live show to come spam my live show with this black woman. Call her all kind of apes, call me all kinds of niggers.
Total lie.
Yep, complete fabrication.
You can go watch the video that we did, or you can go watch our last episode and see what we did, or you can go watch his videos and see what happened. And the entire chat was full of people saying Glanderson Booper. No one was saying nigger or ape.
Not to mention, not is there proof on his channel and ours. Well, maybe he took his down. But Tommy, how unoriginal do you think we are, and why would we even say that to you? That's not. There's never been our line of attack. You're a moron. We make fun of you because you're stupid, not because of the color of your skin.
Later on in the video, he says you bitched out on being on his show.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yep.
He does.
Yep.
Okay.
That's why I was saying skip 2/3 in.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Kyle. Let me tell you this went down.
He asked me, and I said no. I didn't want to go on his show.
This
Let me tell you
was during our channel was crippled.
When our
by
channel
him.
was down by the DMCA, I went into his chat room and I'm like, "Hey, I'm here in your chat," and he's like, "Come on my show then." I'm like, "Okay, I will," and he's like, "You know what? I'm actually tired. We'll do it later." And now the story is I bitched out.
And then we waited like 2 weeks for the flag to be removed.
And they're liberals. They're supposed to be the ones that are.
And also when he took our channel down, we said we were going to sue him because we were losing a lot of revenue because of that. And then he started a fundraiser being like, help me raise money to combat white liberalism. He made like $70,000.
You had good instincts not to go on the show.
Yeah.
This guy is a fucking scammer.
Yeah, he's a huckster.
He was going to make a documentary called Fatherless America.
Which is hilarious because he's got a bunch of children that he never
And he never
sees.
made it. He raised like all this money, never made it. He had his white liberal defense fund / fund my lifestyle fund, which was supposed to be used to defend against our impending lawsuit, which was never filed. So where'd the $40,000 go?
His
Tommy?
own son has made like videos against him.
You see, Kyle. Like this is why is why I think that sometimes we're fucked as far as the intelligence of the American people go, because like half of Tommy's videos are him showing off the mansions that he buys with these donations that are supposed to go. Like, well, he doesn't buy them; he rents them.
Well, you know what else he does? He'll like meet women online and like fly them in, and then like get them in bikinis and like have them swim in his swimming pool. He's like, "Look what I got!" Yeah.
But people keep donating. Every time Tommy comes up with another project that never comes to fruition, $70,000 just ends up in his bank account.
Jeez, you're making me really happy I didn't go on his show.
Yeah. You made a wise choice.
Different than Donald Trump and the Republicans taking up for ya. So out of all the disses they could come up with, why did they have to do that? Oh, every time you see the Harambe comments, it's a white liberal. Yes.
Yeah, we didn't
saying
say
that you're
about
black
Harambe.
and you look like
What are you talking about? The Trump supporters love that Harambe shit.
I love how Tommy just pulls shit directly out of his ass and just
we're
spews
calling him a
it.
gorilla. Like he's linking Harambe comments
Tommy,
to us.
hey Tommy, show us where we made where all of us made all these racist comments. I'd like to see that because since you're saying making these statements, show where Ben said it or TJ said it or I said it or Paul said it. Just show us where we said that.
Never happened.
Exactly.
Tommy's all kind of coon.
Now, they continued on so much so that I found out when I watched the White Boys replay of his show, what they did was not only did they take my material, had to make comments about it, then they jumped on.
It's not comments.
Yeah, it's called fair use.
Yeah.
On my live show, told people to come to my live show.
Yeah,
so when I shut down the YouTube comment section and tried to open up my live stream, they went over there too.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did.
That
And
part-
the
that
white
part is
people
true.
who were following them never questioned them and said, well, sir, they're not bothering us. As a matter of fact, those black people are bothering nobody. They're actually over there having a conversation about black people. Why are we, these white liberals, going to spam their comment section, then go spam their other comment section, and then afterwards he told them, let's make sure we go spam his Twitter.
Tommy, you want to know why? Let me spell it out for you. Because it was fucking funny, dude. And it was funny as shit.
And you crippled our channel.
The amount of shit that every person on YouTube gets, whether it be on your Twitter feed or whether it be in the comment section or whether it be for your live show or whatever it is, like all of us deal with fucking just incoherent babble. The response to that is, who gives a shit? Who cares? Who cares? Why are you doing a segment on it, dude?
What is the
Kyle? How many times you could call like cuck or I hear the lesbian softball
Can you
coach
imagine
thing all the
Kyle's
time.
like Twitter and all his shit he deals with? 'Cause, I mean, Kyle, how big is your channel? I know you have quite a few subscribers on YouTube. Like, what's it, like 400,000?
415,000 or something like that.
So I mean, you deal with a lot of that shit for sure.
Well, yeah, and I also I do like a daily show, so I'm releasing like 8 clips 5 days a week.
Yeah,
so but you know, but here's the thing: if I'm ever in a mood, and it's most of the time when I don't want to read comments, I just don't fucking read comments. It's not that difficult. I would never like find a comment and then like I'm gonna do a fucking 3-hour segment on this, and I am appalled that Mr. Random Commentator said, and especially if the fucking thing they were saying was Glanderson Booper. I file that under I don't give a fuck. Who cares?
You know, Kyle, I think you may not be surprised to learn that Atheism is Unstoppable is a fan of this guy.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we could talk about Devon, but there's
Do you want
that
to?
guy.
Let's do it.
Sure. Why not? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, go ahead. Because I don't think I've ever heard you actually address him.
So there's first of all, well, before I talk about him, I'll just say I disagree with him most of the time. But when he I got to give him a little bit of credit because like what is it? 70-80% of his audience is overwhelmingly pro-Trump. And like he'll go out there every video and he'll just be like, fuck you all, I'm pro-Hillary, and she's awesome. And every video is like, I love Hillary. And again, like, I disagree with him. I despise fucking Hillary Clinton. I also despise Trump. But, I mean, you got to give somebody a little, some credit for going out there and saying, I know that all of you are going to fucking hate this and massively dislike it, but this is what I'm going to say. Because I've done that on some issues, and it's not easy. You know, like, well, I'm going to get a wave of I disagree with you on this, but you fucking say it anyway.
What's the biggest backlash you've gotten on YouTube for anything you said?
Well, there was one time that I was legitimately wrong about something, and I just made a dumb comment about, like, Nate Silver had said that Hillary's chances were 80% to win the election, and in the middle of a rant, I said something really dumb, like, oh yeah, show me the poll that has her at 80%. And people were like, oh, you fucking moron. That's not how statistics work. And I was like, oh, that's right. That is not at all how statistics work.
Yeah.
So I pulled that video and I basically tweeted something like, I'll do a different segment tomorrow and I'll address that. And I basically said, yeah, he's obviously that's not how polls work, and I was wrong in that. But I kind of semi-doubled down, at least in the sense that I still thought he was wrong on his overall take, because he was saying Hillary had like an 80% chance to win, like, at the beginning of the general election. And I said, look, man, that may be the snapshot right now, but you're not factoring in how they're running their campaigns. And I had already seen warning signs. Now, I know that he can't quantify that, but I wanted to lay that out in my segment. Like, oh, you really think it's 80% or 85%? That's just not true, man. But in the midst of doing that, I said something stupid, so I got some backlash. So sometimes the backlash is merited, and sometimes it's totally justified. But then there's other times that it's just fucking stupid, and you're like, shut the fuck up.
Of all the shit I've ever talked about, the biggest one was the most I ever offended people was when I said soccer is bullshit.
Yeah. Wasn't like the World Cup going on or something? You're like, I don't care.
First of all, no, okay. Nobody has ever been more factually correct than somebody who says soccer is bullshit.
Exactly.
All right, get ready for your subscribe count.
Kyle's sub count from Europe goes like this.
I love soccer, audience. We love it. Football, because we're going to let you call it football. Yay.
Look, man, I'm not begrudging anybody. If you love soccer, fine. You love soccer. I mean, I'm a goofy motherfucker, too. I love golf. I'm a fucking liberal who plays golf. I'm one of 8 in the country. So I get it, like, people are into weird shit, but don't try to pretend like soccer is like has this kind of appeal that everybody just gets.
Golf ain't weird shit though. Golf is just like, it's kind of boring if you're not into it. You just watch it and you're like, why are they doing this? This is pointless.
It's fun to play. Like, if you're actually like,
well, you know what the fun in playing would be, like, if you sucked, because they'd be trying to, like, how the fuck am I gonna get this fucking ball in that hole 500 yards away?
Most people suck at golf. Like, even people who play like years and years suck.
Sure.
Especially compared to the pros. There's such a big differential between a pro golfer and like the most experienced.
Well, yeah, you're talking about someone
golfer.
that's practiced for fucking years of their life doing only this versus some asshole that goes on the weekend.
Some of them just have it naturally. So like, there's such a differential between like the worst pro golfer and the best amateur golfer. There's just like this huge gap.
No, and if you, like, all you have to do is go to the golf range like 3 times, and then you would want to play like every week. You'd want to do it every week, because it's one of those things where you get like one little taste of what one good shot feels like, and good shots are really elusive in golf. So you're like, oh, I just want to keep doing it until I hit those shots all the time. And it's basically like unmasterable. I mean, look at what happened with Tiger Woods. He was so insanely dominant. I mean, the guy fucking 14 majors, and then now he went through a spell of shanking shots and duffing shots.
Well, I would say golf, above most professional sports, is mind over matter in many ways. And after the scandals he had that kind of took him down, if you've noticed, he never won.
He had a lot of injuries too.
Yeah, true.
He had some serious knee problems.
Yeah, he never won a major after the scandal in 2009, but he did in 2013. Though he was Player of the Year, so he won like a bunch of tournaments. He just never won a major after that.
So I know what everyone wants.
So everyone wants
some Ann Coulter, don't they? You guys want some Ann Coulter?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Bring it on,
man.
That's always
Coulter.
Easy to mock.
Everyone wants a big old plate of Ann Coulter.
Get your Ann Coulter.
Get your Ann Coulter.
Steaming hot, boy.
Here we go. It's right below the one we've just played.
Stunningly, and I only found this out after Trump made his proposal, that We slow down the Muslim immigration. We have been admitting more Muslims after 9/11 than we were admitting before 9/11. As I say in my book, Muslims must have thought, you know, when they're about to commit 9/11, boy.
Whoever that kid that screamed was, I agree with them.
Yeah.
What is that up there?
Is everyone ready for Sharia law? Because it's coming tomorrow.
It's right around the corner.
In my very early 20s, this woman was like, she was the villain in my life. I wanted nothing more than to see her get hurt horribly in a car accident or something. Like, I really wished pain on Ann Coulter. Now I just kind of laugh when I see her, but there was a point in time.
I feel bad for people who like think she's saying anything that even remotely resembles truth.
Sure.
Like, it's really sad if people think she's like saying things that are true.
And you know what her alma mater is?
What is it?
University of Michigan.
You know. I mean, really, people are divorcing Ann Coulter from. I mean, look, she's saying all this shit and she's doing all this shit because she wants to make fucking money. She sells books.
I didn't know that back in the day.
This is a personality that's just like, it's totally contrived. It's she just listens to what the rumblings online and goes. She just has her finger on the pulse and goes, oh, okay, that's what they want to hear. And
she might be the clearest example of that. Like, I don't know, like, it's hard to tell which of the characters who are right-wing pundits are liars and which ones are, like, acting and which ones are honest but stupid. But with her, it's like, she's probably the clearest example of, yeah, it kind of looks like you're just doing it so that you can get paid and you found this niche and then that's how you're making money.
I mean, I always called her the female Limbaugh because I think if anybody on the right, at least in my history, has rivaled Ann Coulter for just absolute bullshit, it's Limbaugh.
Dude, she goes on almost every season of Real Time. She's on Bill Maher, and it's always, here's my new book.
Yeah.
Let me argue with some liberals some more. 'Cause she wants to get that money. She wants to get the liberal that's going to go buy her book and go,
why liberals
she's wrong.
are a bunch of butt-fucking faggots.
She's an idiot. She's wrong.
Liberals will rape your grandma.
Please welcome more. Here's a $100,000 check. I'll let you pull this off.
Dude, she looks like a fucking demon in this. With
We're
this
admitting
quality.
more immigrants from Muslim countries than we do from all of the British Isles.
Nonsense.
Can we take a vote on?
Yeah, I don't believe. I mean, like, whenever Ann Coulter comes out with a fact, I'm just like, I don't.
Yeah, no.
There's like 50 million illegal immigrants here.
Yeah, we'll look that up later, and I guarantee you that's bullshit. Okay, first of all, here's what I know. I know, like, everybody's making a big deal about Syrian refugees. You know how many we took in? 10,000.
Yep.
You know how many they took in like fucking Germany? Like millions over the past few years. In Europe, like millions.
Turkey, millions.
Well, let me ask you a question about that since we're on the subject.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like, I'm a liberal. When I heard, like, we're letting all these refugees in, I'm like, that seems fine. And then, a lot of things have happened since then. Like, I watched that 60 Minutes interview, a report where they tried to go into that refugee part of town in Sweden, and they were basically attacked within seconds and shit. You're having all kinds of problems there. I mean, like, do you think that there is a point where it's too much?
Yeah, no, of course, because there is a discussion to be had about how many do you let in? I mean, that's the most reasonable discussion ever. I mean, we're a sovereign nation. Every single sovereign nation on the planet has borders. If you have a nation, you get to control your immigration flow. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a line, but I think the point is that as far as where we're at in the U.S., where we have like people like fucking Ann Coulter and a bunch of morons who are pretending like Sharia law really is going to take over Oklahoma when we've only fucking taken in 10,000 Syrian refugees. And by the way, 80% of them are women. Like they've really crafted this thing to do like the minimal amount of risk and do the bare minimum possible to help these people. Look, if it was me, if I was president and I was, crafting some sort of policy, I think that I would probably take in like 60,000 or 100,000 or something like that. And don't get me wrong, I would do, like, right now we have a really like rigorous vetting process in place. So it takes like a year on average to get in here, and they do biometric screening.
But dude, let me ask you this: we have a country that borders us that's taken Canada. Canada takes in tons and tons. Like in Canada, you can literally sponsor refugees from Syria or whatever country. It's Canadian law, if you have the money. And, like, their country is not collapsing. Look, there's been some terrorist plots that have originated in Toronto, for sure, and parts of Canada, but this isn't, like, a huge fucking issue. Like,
do you feel like
totally,
100%? Do you feel like part of the problem, though, is that we bring these people over here or to wherever they go, Sweden, Germany, whatever.
Western Europe, the United States, Canada, wherever.
But we put them all in one place and we say, all right, here you go. Like, maybe we should spread them out a little more. Like, maybe don't let them fucking exist within a, like, there's a reason their country failed.
You nailed it. No, you nailed it, because
the enclaves.
So that's the difference between the kind of multiculturalism that you're talking about in Europe, where it's like multiculturalism where you have like very distinct pockets of like, oh, over there it's, you know, ultra-Orthodox Jews, and over there it's fundamentalist Muslims, and over there it's, you know, whatever, people who are more secular and liberal.
Yeah.
That's a kind of multiculturalism that's doomed for disaster, because what's going to happen is you have like fundamentalist Muslims and ultra-Orthodox Jews are going to clash, and those ideologies, if they're extremist ideologies in those communities, it's like built to spread and be fairly supremacist. Yep. And so that's a kind of multiculturalism that's bound for failure, and that's what we're seeing a lot in Europe.
So do you think you think the melting pot approach is better, or
100%?
The mosaic 100%. Versus the melting pot. The melting pot works better.
Of course, the melting pot works better, and I think the main thing is, first of all, what TJ said is 100% right. You just got to spread them out all over the place. And the second thing is, the non-negotiable thing should be secular schools. If you're raised in a secular environment, then you're not gonna, the chances of you becoming some sort of uber religious fundamentalist are just super low, because the whole culture you're in, you're gonna be immersed in fucking pop culture and music and TV, like all that shit.
So do you end homeschooling then?
Well, now you're gonna make me think
that's
deeply on air.
Dude, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I would ban homeschooling or even ban religious schooling. I mean, there's Catholic schools all over the place and shit.
But not for refugees, though.
No, I would just try to incentivize as much as possible secular schools, because that's the answer. That's the key, so that we can kind of not have this clash of civilizations thing going on.
Well, let's see what Ann Coulter ends up saying here.
But yeah, dude, one point for you, that I saw Richard Dawkins go to some Muslim schools in the UK, and they were being taught things that were totally factually incorrect, like evolution is basically bullshit. You know, a lot of things.
No,
so you
that shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, that point.
The reason I brought up homeschooling is I have a sister who's an ultra fundamentalist Christian who homeschools her children, and they're being taught things that are factually just not true every day. And when they are finally released from this homeschooling and sent out into college, they're going to be at a huge social disadvantage, a huge knowledge disadvantage, and they're intelligent little kids. So for me, I think that it's time that we do something about this homeschooling. I don't think that we can trust that children are getting a standard education at home and learning the facts of the world. We need some kind of a standard that we hold education to. No?
Okay. So the first step to what you're talking about there is just, you have to have federal standards for education. Now, I know, like with Common Core, maybe it was done wrong, and maybe it was done in a goofy way where there's a lot of shit in there that just shouldn't be in there. But the idea of national standards for education, there should be no debate about that, because let's be real, if we don't have national standards, the people in Alabama and Mississippi and Kentucky are going to be learning that creationism is fucking true and evolution is false, and Jesus loved Reagan, and you can't have that. You have to have
Reagan.
You have to have a situation where it's like they're actually learning shit, or else you're putting them at a massive disadvantage. So yeah, I would have national standards. And then the question of homeschooling and religious schools in general, I mean, I don't know if we can ban them, but what I would do is you would have to just incentivize secular schools. I don't know how, but you have to find a way to do
more
that.
authoritarian.
I am more authoritarian, but I kind of want to pursue this a little more, and then I'll shut up, because I know you want to get off.
No, I actually want to hear you lay out.
Because you know, for me, can we really dance around the banning of homeschooling? I mean, look, I know a lot of this is anecdotal, but once again, I've witnessed the destruction that homeschooling can wreak.
Paul, can I add something?
Sure, please do.
Paul also advocates for the banning of any religion religion other than
Paul
one.
also. Oh, I'm sorry, Ben.
He
not
also
the banning, not the banning.
Oh, hold on. Actually, I meant to say it differently.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm a little tipsy.
Sure.
It's okay.
Paul actually advocates for the banning of any other language other than the universal common language.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I do.
I mean,
we're talking long term here. I'm not talking about like now we make fucking all other languages
just want to put that into
illegal.
perspective for you.
But
Kyle.
yeah, of course, I have some wild ideas about the future. But ultimately speaking, can we really dance around the idea of, hey, we cannot allow religious zealots to take children and raise them in their home to believe things that are factually untrue, that are demonstrably destructive to the chances that human beings have to survive.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think anyone wants to poke the religious people in this country with a stick of saying,
Absolutely not.
no,
We need to.
but I mean, I agree with you. We should.
There's a
It should
bigger.
be
I mean, like,
challenged.
we talk about children being brainwashed, but I mean, like, adults brainwash themselves in this country. Like,
of course.
Oh, the only news I trust is Breitbart.
You know
It's
what
like,
though? You know what though? The reason that the reason that those adults exist, these low information voters that you're talking about, is because the education system failed them. The education failed in its number one, its number one goal, which is to make critical thinkers out of children.
Yes.
Period.
What do you think, Kyle?
I think, first of all, I think that the goal that you're trying to achieve, which is basically to have everybody in an environment where they're actually learning shit at school, I think that goal is something that we all agree on. It's just a matter of how you achieve that. And there may be a way to do that where you don't poke the community with a stick and basically say, you're wrong and we're going to ban it. Like, there might be a way to say, okay, well, maybe you get an extra tax break if you send your kids to a public school, so you're financially incentivized to do it. Or maybe you have some sort of government, standardized testing where even if they're homeschooled, they're forced to take this standardized testing once every year, every other year, something.
That may sway some of the homeschool advocates, but I'm telling you, a tax break is not swaying my sister and the people that are like her. She's not looking for a tax break. She thinks honestly and genuinely believes that her children are not going to learn the truth unless she teaches them.
Okay, but imagine what happens when you tell that group of people, nope, not allowed to do that anymore.
Yep.
They're going to have a giant fucking apoplectic shit fit.
So?
That's going to fucking... I mean,
we have apoplectic shit fits in this country every fucking day about shit.
Yeah,
I think it's...
But Paul, he's saying it'll make the problem worse. Paul, he's saying it would make the problem worse. So the thing that you're trying to avoid, they'd go deeper down that tunnel if you were to try to take such an authoritarian approach.
I think they would create a fucking mentality of like,
maybe in the
everything you learn at school is a lie.
It's a lie.
Maybe in the short
Don't
fucking
trust
term.
anything.
Maybe in the short term.
No,
you know
but
what?
Look,
they can
we
tell
all
their
agree on the
children
goal.
that. They can tell their children that. They can say, you know what? When you go. Okay, hold on. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kyle.
No, I was just saying, we're really. I mean, we're dancing on the deck of the Titanic here because we all agree on the goal.
Yeah.
By the way, did that even make sense? I just made that up now, and that doesn't even make sense.
Dancing on the deck.
No, I got it.
We'll all go down with the ship. All right.
You did.
I feel
I was like
in
in the middle of saying it, and I'm like, don't say it.
Stop
makes
dancing,
no
get in the
sense.
lifeboat. You know.
No, it worked. It worked. You did good.
It sounds good, anyways.
It sounded good.
It sounded
Right.
good, so
no
who
one's
cares?
going to question it.
We all want to get people to learn in a secular environment where they're actually learning shit, and it's just a matter of what approach you take to try to get there. So we agree with your end goal, but I just don't know
Here's
the
the
details.
other-
I honestly
but here's the other problem I have with it.
You have to think for like
I don't have
weeks
kids.
to come to a conclusion here.
I don't have kids, but I honestly think if I was raising kids, I'd probably consider sending them to fucking homeschooling them. Because I don't fucking like the education system either, but for other reasons.
Sure.
So, I mean, like, I don't know. I kind of feel on both sides
You
of this.
probably feel it's too standardized. and
Yeah, I
too-
do feel like it's too regimented and standardized, and that it saps people of their creativity.
Paul actually worked in a school district.
I did.
For a while.
Well, I mean, I don't want to go off on a fucking huge tangent here, but I worked
Why not?
I worked for
Go
a
ahead.
school district for 8 years, and I saw the destructive nature of Common Core. I saw how it just doesn't work. It doesn't educate.
Why
children.
doesn't it work? Because
It does
look,
lay it out.
I've heard of so many people talk about Common Core, but
Okay.
you actually were on the ground.
Yeah,
when
I
this
was on the
happened.
ground and I saw what happened.
Paul,
At least
when
it's
was it
anecdotal.
implemented? When was it implemented?
I don't know an exact year, but I know that it came into being. I worked for a school district for 8 years as a technology consultant, and I was the one that was setting up the back end of Common Core. That was my job, setting up the testing environment for Common Core. And I watched as it happened, and what Common Core does is it completely ignores two things that I think are essential to a good education. Number one, it completely ignores aptitudes in students, interests in students. Students should be encouraged to pursue the things that they are interested in and not penalized for things that they're not as good at. You know what? I struggled with math my entire life. I consider myself a reasonably intelligent person. Put me in a fucking math class, I'm dumb. Because that's not the way my brain works, right?
Yeah, me too.
It completely
totally.
ignores that with children. They do not nurture children anymore in their aptitudes. They treat children like they're little information vessels, right? And then the second thing that it does wrong is it completely removes autonomy from a teacher. Like, teaching is such a creative profession. Teachers have this their own style of teaching. Yeah. I had teachers growing up in the same school district that I worked in for 8 years that changed my fucking life, that changed my perspective. Teachers aren't allowed to do that anymore because they're given a script and they're told, stand in front of your kids, read this script, test them in this way. There's no creativity in education anymore.
So you think that it's been, basically what you're saying is you think it's been standardized to the point where the life has been sucked out of it.
Absolutely. And on top of that, it's used as a bludgeon against teachers, right? I'm a big advocate for reform in teachers' unions. I think that teachers' unions cause a lot of problems. I don't want to abolish teachers' unions, but this idea that you can't fire a bad teacher because they have tenure is bullshit.
I agree with that.
I watched so many teachers that didn't give a fuck teaching classrooms 40-1, 40 kids to one teacher, teaching classrooms of kids they couldn't give a shit about. That has to stop. And if it doesn't stop, we are fucked going forward. Fuck!
Damn, Paul's getting fired up. I like this.
He is.
No, Paul, no, this is common for Paul.
This is my shit. You know what I mean? Because to bring it all full circle, and then I'll shut up and let everybody else talk. Kids are programmed to believe what you tell them. And there's a reason for that, biologically. If you tell a kid, don't go near the river because there's fucking crocodiles that'll eat you, they need to believe you, right? Biology works that way. We're telling children lies. And we're sanctioning it in this country. We are sanctioning the idea that a parent can keep their child out of school and teach them that Noah's Ark is true. Fuck that. Fuck it. If we don't stop now, we are fucked. Because these are the people that elect Donald Trump. These are the people that allow the DNC to rot to the point where Hillary Clinton, the massive failure that is Hillary Clinton, is put at the fucking masthead of a party.
Hey, Paul.
Sorry.
Hey, Paul, man.
We may
bring on the
neighbors.
nukes, right? Bring on the nukes.
Bring on the nukes,
awesome.
Yeah, it's beautiful when he gets on like
Dude,
that.
Paul was on a roll.
That was a good rant.
It was indeed. That's a legendary rant right there. So I don't think we're getting much hay out of this Coulter video. I don't know.
Oh, but hold on. Let me just I wanted to address something real quick that she said.
Yeah, I do.
Though.
I do want you to do that.
She mentioned at the beginning something like, "Oh, we're accepting more Muslims now than we were before." And first of all, I have no idea if that's true or not. But like I said, Syrian refugees, 10,000 was the number, which is fucking nothing. 80% of them are women. There's a long, rigorous vetting process. But I feel like on that issue, there's a lot of people who like to talk about, like, well, look, we just got to be honest, man. They're more likely to do terrorism. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And nobody should deny that. But then there's also a second part to that equation, which is it is also true that the overwhelming majority of the people you let in are not going to be any problem at all. So if you're going to bring up the first fact, which is, yes, there's more religious terrorism coming from Islam today, then you also have to bring up the second fact and make clear that it's like the same thing with like with Devon Tracy, to bring him up again. Devon Tracy, when he brings up black crime, he always likes to talk about how it's disproportionate. It's disproportionate. They're doing more crime. They're doing more crime. They're doing more fucking crime, TJ. What don't you get, you aggressive cuck? But then he never brings up the second part of that, which is that the overwhelming majority of black people are not criminals.
I was on his show, and I actually,
which no longer exists.
Yeah, I was on his show that fell apart because he couldn't keep a group of people together. I brought that up to him. I'm like, look, yeah, you're right. Everything you're saying about that is right. It is true that black people are like, 14 times more likely to commit this crime or whatever. But what you're not realizing is they're 14 times more likely to commit a crime that is statistically insignificant in the white community, and even 14 times it is still pretty fucking insignificant.
That's exactly right.
You still end up with 99.99 whatever % of black people have never murdered anybody.
That's right, and that's the main point.
That has to be brought up too.
Yeah, and every video I've seen of him on that issue, that's the only fucking point that I keeps coming up in my head where I'm like, why don't you fucking acknowledge that obvious point instead of just harping away like a clown?
Okay,
never acknowledge.
You know what Devon does though, and this is Devon's tactics here. He goes and finds some racist incendiary rhetoric. He cuts out the part that's overtly racist and then just uses the build-up, and then when you fill in the blanks, like, yeah, I've heard this shit before from racists, and he's going here with it.
Oh, you just called me racist.
And you say, well, that seems racist to me. He's like, oh. Because now, of course, it's a bigger deal to call someone a racist than it is to actually be a fucking racist.
I always wish that Devon Tracy would just say what he means, because I think what Devon Tracy is trying to point out is that in America, at the African American community or the black community in America has some fucking problems that we can't solve. I, as a white man, can't help with some of the shit that's going on in the black community.
That's true.
And that is absolutely 100% fucking true. I agree with Devon on that. They have to fucking step up and stop some of the shit that's happening. With that being said, right, what Kyle said comes into play, right? We're not talking about this giant number, right? Like, most black people are not out there gangbanging.
No, of course not.
Right.
The vast majority are not.
Yeah.
Vast majority.
And then also, we haven't even reached the broader conversation, which is one where Devon, I don't know if he's guilty of this, to be honest, but why is it that those things are the way they are? Why is it that there are those disproportionate numbers? Because the further right you go, the more likely they are to say
I've literally asked him this. Okay, I've literally asked him this. I've asked Devon why, and he's like, "Why doesn't matter."
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, okay.
It does to me.
Do we have a couple
it kind of does. It kind of fucking does.
It's the fucking heart of the conversation. That's everything. Everything is why is that the case?
And the reason why he gets called racist all the time is because he floats these statistics, which are true. The black community is killing itself in reprehensible numbers. This is true.
I'm pretty much convinced he wants people to call him racist.
He floats shit like this, but he never offers an idea.
And then
he stays away pathologically from any idea that would cause it.
Yeah.
It would be like if I said things that kind of made me sound like a pedophile, but not quite.
Like, oh, wow.
And then when you called me one, I was like, oh my God,
right.
You called me a pedophile. How could you accuse me of that?
Yeah.
I was just pointing out statistics.
Sometimes children are sexual beings.
Yeah,
they need an older person to show them how to have sex.
Devon has some points. Obviously, Devon has some points.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what he's talking about, he's totally divorcing context and everything else from it. It's like TJ, we had this big debate with him. I remember what was going on. You're like, okay, well, how do you address poverty? How do you address all these other, some police bias? How do you address bias? How do you bias in general? How do you address all these issues? And Devon was just like, no.
Well, I remember another story from when I was a show. I'm like, I said, like, I've seen some genuine examples of racism.
Yes, of course. Who has?
And he's like, give me one. I'm like, okay. Well, one time I was at Waffle House and there was some black people. They pulled up and they were from like a hip hop radio station or something. And they pulled in to go to Waffle House or go to the gas station or whatever.
It was a gas station.
Yeah, they were at a gas station, and then next thing we know, like 50 cops showed up at this little small town.
And they're just looking at him.
And they're just standing around like, yep. And this is in Mississippi.
God.
And, and Devon's like,
so? You gotta realize that they're more likely to be violent.
Yeah, okay, maybe they're more likely to be violent statistically, but
so Devon wants to
there's still a minuscule chance.
So what Devon is arguing for is the thought police. Someone hasn't done something yet, but they may do it, so they're guilty.
It's like you might be guilty because your skin color indicates that there might be a slightly higher percentage that you're going to do this. It's like, bullshit.
Yep.
Get out of here. And he wouldn't admit that was racist. That's why it kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, though. It's like you got a segment of people who will not admit that anything is racist, no matter how racist it is. And you got a segment of people that think everything is racist, no matter how innocuous it is.
Well, the thing that set the whole thing off was, if you as an individual who's a member of this race has a problem with being harassed by the police, then maybe your race as a whole should stop committing crimes.
Yeah,
that's where that came from.
It's just a stupid idea. It's a stupid fucking word game that allows him to maintain this I'm edgy. I hate that word, but really he has this edge where it's like people can call me racist. I deny it, but I'm actually kind of floating this idea without offering any fucking.
You can't see groups.
Here's
as
the thing, though:
monoliths.
if you call him a racist, that justifies anything he will do to you.
Yeah,
going
exactly.
forward.
But the problem is when you take groups as monoliths and you take them as giant things, so you take whites or blacks, whoever. It's like, I saw this on the left where it's like the white lash. Oh, there's too many whites voting for Trump, and that's what caused this. Like, you cannot be so reductionist that you look at someone and take one superficial trait and say this is the answer.
No. I as a white person, I walk around and I look at what other white people are doing, and I go, what the fuck? Like, I don't feel some solidarity because we have less melanin. You know what I mean?
Right.
I look at a person
Totally.
and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? I see white people doing shit all the fucking time. That makes me go, Jesus Christ, what are you fucking doing?
And that kind of thinking leads to terrible fucking policies. Like with stop and frisk, there was some study on stop and frisk, and they found that like 98% of them, or some crazy high number, yielded absolutely nothing. So you're just going around, you have no probable cause, you have no reasonable suspicion, and you're just fucking stopping and frisking people. Now, obviously, who do they stop and frisk? They stop and frisk minorities because, like we were saying before.
And that started in New York City, right? That whole policy originated in New York City.
You know what's interesting is New York City had this huge reduction in crime. We've seen a huge reduction in violent crime throughout the U.S. But the interesting thing that you really see is that stop and frisk was not a huge part of it. When you look at the efficacy of stop and frisk.
No, you're right. It was the opposite. In fact, I covered the story a while ago. It was they stopped doing stop and frisk, and then in like the year following, crime dropped.
Yep.
So it wasn't doing dick. All it was doing was taking away people's Fourth Amendment rights. Again, well over 90% of people, they got nothing out of it. And by the way, think about and of the things they got, how much of it was just a little bit of weed? It was probably most of the people they stopped who had something. It was some weed.
Crime dropped because they stopped charging people with petty crime.
But you know what the truth is with the policing system in this country is really it's the profit motive. Like, look at civil forfeiture, look at fucking stop and frisk. It's just looking for something to bust you on, so you have to give them some money.
I'm a big fucking I'm an empathetic person. And as a white person, I try and put myself in the shoes of a black person who's just walking home from fucking work, and the cops pull up, and they're allowed to fucking pat me down for no reason other than the fact that I was walking down the fucking sidewalk.
That's bullshit.
White people would be up in fucking arms about this. Why do we think that this is an answer?
You're aggressive
to the fucking problem.
You such a regressive.
If you've done nothing wrong, and you're walking down the street, you're right. Why the fuck should you be fucking
If a cop walked up to me and I was walking down the street and was like, freeze, I'm going to frisk you, I'd tell him to go fuck himself. I'd probably get arrested.
What would you do if like a George Zimmerman rode up on you and was
Jesus Christ, I don't know.
Run.
I'd run the fuck away.
And by the way, look, one of my guilty pleasures, I'm like semi-embarrassed to admit this, is I actually like to watch the show Cops. And when I watch that show, I always say, it's like, I call it the biggest 50-50 show ever, because half the time when they show up and they're stopping like an assault, or they show up and there was some violent crime, you're going, oh, that's fucking awesome, because I don't want to do that, and that person's a fucking hero for showing up at the place where nobody wants to be. But then the other half the time, they're doing an illegal search on somebody, and they find some weed, and they're like, okay, we got to bring you in over this. They find somebody with some drug paraphernalia.
They're doing some
Another
undercover.
One, they bust people.
Some undercover thing.
You see the dime bag.
Yeah.
You see the dime bag of weed on the hood, of the, and then you're going to jail now. And it's like, dude, in other states, people just go and buy this in stores.
I mean, I always used to watch Cops back in the day and watch them doing these fucking big elaborate stings for weed. And I was just like, what the fuck are we spending our fucking money on?
I stopped watching Cops when every episode on TV was in the city I lived in at that point.
Not to change
Albuquerque.
Not to change the subject too much, but you mentioned guilty pleasures. I was wondering, you have any YouTube guilty pleasures? Because I like watching these terrible top 10 lists, man.
Who doesn't?
I'll watch the shit out of those.
So I'll tell you who I watch on YouTube. I don't know if any of them are guilty pleasures, because I actually just enjoy watching. I'll watch your stuff. I watch your stuff all the time. I watch Sargon of Akkad.
Good channel.
And you're appearing on his show later this weekend, aren't you?
Yeah, I think tomorrow at some point. Though I haven't brushed up the exact time, but I should be doing
check that out
tomorrow
too.
at some point. I've actually started watching a lot recently. Jimmy Dore's show. He's kind of taken off recently.
Ooh. Didn't he spit in Alex Jones's face?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh damn.
What did you make of that whole thing, by the way?
Yeah.
Oh, let me just ask you a question. I know
the Rumble.
I know you kind of maybe you know Jank kind of or whatever, but who do you think would have won that fight if that actually had come down to a real?
I'd bet on Alex, to be honest. Just
because I kind of feel like Jank would have won.
I don't know.
Jank was way more pissed.
I'm pretty sure Jank is bigger.
Jank is bigger, but you know what? Alex is one of those gun nut fucking self-defense. He might.
Guns. I'm talking about like fists.
I still think Alex Jones wins. I think you guys underestimate Alex Jones. I really do.
Jank, no. Dude, Jank was a football player. He would have fucked up Alex Jones.
There you go.
Alex was a bodybuilder.
He was a big guy. I don't know.
Alex Jones was a bodybuilder.
He was.
At one
I don't know. A football.
He was pretty ripped.
Bodybuilders just like I look good. Football players
dude,
like
Jank and fucking Alex Jones get in the octagon, settle it once and for all.
I think Jank doesn't stand a chance against Alex. And once again, anecdotal evidence. I'm the king of anecdotal evidence, but I've been living in Texas for a fucking year. And I don't fuck with anybody in Texas because even the smallest, most unassuming fucking dude.
Yeah, seriously, Kyle, this is gonna blow your mind. That is Alex Jones right there.
Can you see it? You have to minimize him.
Oh
no,
shit!
I can't see it.
Hold on.
Yeah, hold on. We got to minimize you for a second,
Kyle.
for you to see it.
There he is.
There you go.
Oh, poor Alex, man. No wonder why he's always taking pictures with his shirt off now. He's just trying to relive the glory days.
Yeah.
He's pining for the good old days when he was ripped.
Now show the one of him on a horse without a shirt and compare so we can
I
laugh.
love that picture.
Yeah, let's show him with that one.
I love that picture. Dude, he is sucking in his... Come on. He's sucking in that gut. I'm a fat guy. I know what a sucked-in gut looks like. He is sucking in that gut on that fucking horse.
I hate Alex Jones, but I have to admit, he is fucking ripped here.
He was.
Dude, in his youth, Alex Jones was in really great shape. There's no denying it.
No, I'll go further. He was just a good-looking guy back then.
Yeah.
I mean,
He still is, dude. I'd fuck Alex Jones.
Oh, no.
No.
Paul,
Now
You're not gay. You're not even gay. Shut up.
Paul, come on, you fucking troll.
Now he looks like a decrepit beluga whale.
I don't think Alex Jones is a bad-looking dude.
I mean, he's not hideous.
Yeah,
but
okay, so we got some Paul fat insecurity coming out on the show.
I'm just saying, like,
you know what?
That
is true.
Too bad.
That is true.
Paul
loves any fat
eating
person,
his face
dude.
now. I do.
Yeah,
Paul
all
is
of
an
Paul's
advocate of
favorite
fat
pro
fucks.
wrestlers are all the big fat wrestlers.
I'm
from the
instant.
80s.
Look, I grew up like I was a thin kid up until the 6th grade, and then I became fat, and I've been fat my entire fucking life. And my position on a person is instantly softened when they're fat. I can't help that.
That's why Paul hates me.
That is why I hate you, Ben. Because you used to be chubby and now you're in good shape. You fucking piece of shit. You traitor.
All right, do you guys want to try to get through one more video before we end this? Because we're winding down here.
Yeah,
let's try.
Go for it.
And we didn't get too many, but we got a lot of talkative people here. Let me just take a look at what we got here in the fucking file. Oh, how's about Oh, I guess we could subject Kyle to the most horrible segment on the show.
Slam poetry, hissing, screeching, squawking. Fuck you to all the men. I am blaming you.
Oh yeah, we had a few episodes ago we had David Pakman, who does consider himself a feminist.
Yeah,
on the show.
That's true.
And it was remarkably uncontentious from us too. Because
he's a nice guy.
I have to say, I've called myself that at times too. I've said I'm either I'm fine with the label egalitarian or I'm fine with the label feminist. But then when I said that, my audience was like, "Fuck yourself with a rusty bucket."
Well, that's because feminist doesn't mean Susan B. Anthony.
Yeah, it
anymore.
doesn't anymore. Like I didn't have a problem with feminism
now
until
it means
about
this
2000.
bitch.
Today
Or
we will be
these bitches.
reading an original slam poem called "A Day in the Life of a Third World Woman Living in America."
So I'm just going to warn you to prepare for pain, because this
Okay,
is 100% going to be bad.
Let me just say, we have to so I think it might have been you, TJ, who introduced me, Because I think I said, might have even been on one of the times we did maybe my first time doing Drunken Peasants or something, that I like, yeah, I'll call myself a feminist, why not? And you were like, and then you kind of broke it down for me, and you were like, well, look, there's like this third wave feminism, which is basically the dumbest fucking thing you've ever heard in your life. And then after that, I kind of looked into it, and I was like, oh, yeah, that appears to be true.
Yeah, sorry, it is true. I wish it weren't, because you know what, like. I've given, like, I did a few, I don't know if you know this, but when Anita Sarkeesian started raising money for her newest series, even though she hasn't finished the first one she did, I said, you know what, fuck that, I'm going to raise money for an actual feminist charity. And I found a fucking charity that helps, it was the International Women's Health Coalition. They help women and girls in the third world do things like secure abortions in countries where that's maybe against the law or whatever, or they pay to have girls educated in countries where the state won't educate them. You know, and it's run by feminists, and I support it. You know, so by that metric, I'm a feminist. But when I look at the feminism here in America, by and large, it's like, that video game character's tits are too big. This is going to destroy the fabric of society.
Yeah, why are they not talking about, like, female genital mutilation? And
they used to. Right. I mean, that's really what...
The sex trade, like real misogyny.
That's really what feminism used to be about, Ben.
Anyway,
like,
maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised by this, though.
When I saw Anita Sarkeesian's YouTube channel for the first time, I was like, I honestly thought it may have been a parody, because all the likes and dislikes are disabled, the comments are disabled, and it's all her literally talking about video game characters. And by the way, the arguments contradict themselves. So like one time it's like, well, you know, how dare you have this female character who's got like giant tits and is like really attractive. And then when they change it, it's like, well, you know, how dare you have the big character be the one who is really aggressive, because now you're saying she's not feminine enough. Like, you just argue on both sides of everything.
Dude, I have a great example of this hypocrisy from Anita Sarkeesian. It actually does involve big boobs. She once said that Lara Croft is bad because her tits are huge and she's a sex object. Then, when they came out with some later games and they made her tits smaller, they said, oh, they made her tits smaller because they're trying to de-feminize her and make her more masculine.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's the stuff I'm talking about. Like, they're not even trying to make sense. They're not even trying to, like, have an actual greater cause to care about, like women's equality, how, like, most countries on the fucking planet don't treat women equally. It's just like, I'm just going to be mad about some video games.
Here's an interesting example. I was in a public place, and Anita Sarkeesian came walking through the door, like, totally unplanned, and she was behind me, and I took a selfie with her in the background, and I was accused of rape.
Oh, Ben.
And stalking.
Put Ben in jail.
Yeah, they wanted to
put him in fucking jail.
Like, the great thing about that is one of the main guys.
And you belong there, Ben, for taking that picture.
The great thing about that is one of the main guys that attacked Ben and said that it was harassing women.
Oh, yeah, what happened to him? What happened to him?
He ended up shacking up with some 15-year-old girl, or trying to, and getting caught by the police for
Hannibal the victor.
Whoops.
So. Oopsie.
I'm interested in what these two non-third world teenage girls.
Hold on.
Kyle wanted to say something first.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's okay. I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Okay.
I woke up this morning, and my father told me, "Good morning, sweetheart." Sweetheart? Sweetheart is a derogatory, sexist, racist...
It's called a fucking term of endearment, bitch.
God. It's already the worst thing I've ever heard. It's reality.
By the patriarchy. The constant control that they have over our lives, telling us how our morning should go, stabbing me like a knife in the chest.
I think this might be trolling.
Okay,
I hope
this can't be real.
I don't think so.
This can't be real.
I feel like this is fake.
Why?
I feel like this has to be fake.
Dude, we've seen so much bad
shit. I know, but
why?
It's
look at her face right now. Look at her
fucking reason.
The girl on the left.
Look at her face right now. Her face right now is trying to hold back a laugh.
Okay, well, let's see.
We're being trolled.
Let's continue on.
I'm pretty sure we're being trolled.
I don't know. Maybe she's just...
Yeah,
his words are like a dark cloud that's blocking the sun, and I am a flower, and I am unable to grow because I am not a man. And at my patriarchal and oppressive workplace, I told my misogynist.
This is fake.
Yeah, this is
fake.
fake. Yeah,
100% fake.
This is not real feminist poetry.
Dude, we have seen too much of this. Yeah, like, initially I was like,
I
well,
know
let's give them a
the
second.
hallmarks of real feminist
Well,
poetry.
yeah, I wanted to give them a
and this is
second to
bullshit.
see if they actually. Yeah, but this is too coherent.
All right, let's watch. Since we can't watch this disgusting horse shit, let's watch even more disgusting horse shit. Here's Tucker Carlson.
Oh God, why?
The most remarkable presidential election in memory is how so many of us in the media got it so wrong.
So Tucker Carlson,
is he a virgin? He's probably a virgin.
No, dude, come on. He's definitely paid for sex.
He's
come on.
swimming in pussy. Come on.
Come on.
Oh no.
Come
He
on,
doesn't
Kyle, he's
just pay
paid
for
a couple
sex.
times.
He pays for women to like shit on his face.
Oh,
You think so? Does he wear a bow tie while they do it too?
Totally.
honestly,
100%.
if a woman shit on his face, it'd be an improvement. So whatever.
It would be.
Virtually every person with a high-paying job in Washington, New York, and Los Angeles
Paul, can I borrow
demanded that voters not support Donald Trump for president, but they did it anyway, and we never saw it coming.
Okay.
Why is that? Joining us now to unravel the mystery is New York Times columnist and two-time Pulitzer Prize winner Nick Kristof. His latest column is entitled
Look at this fucking
What
guy.
the fuck
What
is
the
this?
fuck
is that thing?
Yeah.
I'm here.
Someone get the flamethrower. What is
You
this?
have gray hair, dude.
Dude,
Just
we're watching the
accept
fucking
it.
thing.
Dude, it looks like that fucking guy who used to star in that Mad About You thing, like was like
Paul
nailed
Reiser.
it. Paul
melted
Reiser,
with acid.
totally.
Yeah,
Paul
he looks like
Reiser.
Paul Reiser had acid thrown in his face.
Dude,
and then there's this
true.
thing. Ugh.
Oh, you nailed it.
Nicholas Kristof, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
So
Hideous.
you've got this new column out, 12 steps for people.
Sorry, I wouldn't make fun of him, but I know he's about to say some reprehensible shit
He
anyway.
is.
That's going to justify me making
Dude,
fun of him.
he's on
Who
Tucker
are
Carlson.
traumatized,
Exactly.
as you say, by the election. And I won't go through all of them, but he's a sample: volunteer to fight Islamophobia, join the ACLU, donate to Planned Parenthood, was it take on sexism and misogyny, sort of all the stations of the cross of lifestyle liberalism. But there's no number 13, which is assess why this happened. Think deeply about why an event you didn't predict came to pass. Why not?
Well, fuck. I actually agree with that.
Yeah, me too. Let's see what
But
Kristof said.
their spin is probably going to be horrible, but that premise I actually do agree with.
Let's see what Kristof said.
Okay, that's it.
Actually, that is within the 12. One is to get out of our echo chambers. And so to follow people on Twitter or Facebook who do not agree with you. Make sure that you have
Okay, I
friends
like this so
who
far, actually.
disagree with
This
you
is surprising
profoundly.
me.
If you have a friend
Some
who
Fox
voted
News
for
shit.
somebody else, if you're a Clinton supporter, if you
You're
have
drifting to
friends
the
who-
right, TJ.
No, I mean, like, all he's saying is, like, follow people who disagree with you on Twitter and stuff.
No,
and
yeah,
be
he's saying
open-minded
let's
other
try to
points of view.
diagnose why we missed Trump. He's saying diagnose that. So
Yeah.
far so good.
actually, I like him. Sorry, you don't look like a melted Paul Reiser. You're okay. Just
Melted
forget I
people.
said that.
There's
Still
no
does.
suggestion of why people might have voted for Trump. Now, I read your column, so I know. I think it was in September you had this piece.
Tucker, bring back the bow tie.
Hashtag bring back the bow tie.
Said it's the North Korean
I
government.
wanted you to look like
it's Islamic
Dr. Who
terrorists,
again.
It's
Come on.
the Klan. It's the
True.
American Nazi Party. It seemed very uncharitable to me. There was no room for.
So, like, who is Tucker the nephew of to, like, keep him getting shows?
We talked about this because Tucker, like, I'm sure Kyle,
sucks.
being a political guy, remembers when Jon Stewart went on Crossfire and
destroyed.
completely eviscerated Tucker Carlson.
Totally.
And since then, it seems like he keeps showing up, and I don't know why.
Despite shitty ratings, everywhere he goes, he has
I know.
horrendous
That's what I'm
ratings.
saying.
too.
He sucks.
No one wants to watch him because he's
He's
horrible.
so fucking boring, dude. He's the most boring person on Fox, and that's
Yeah.
saying something. He's so fucking boring. He's so unoriginal. He has nothing to say, but they give him a show.
No, it's on cable TV, like all these cable news stations. It's just a fucking insular circle jerk of people who already know each other and have all been hired by the other places. And it's like, if you really think about it, in a free market sense, they're just utter disasters because they're like TV is like there's a limited number of channels and like so it's like a forced market in a certain sense. Meanwhile, like people like us, we're on the internet where people have unlimited options and there's still people who actually choose to watch us. Imagine how many views Tucker Carlson would get if he had to launch a YouTube channel.
Like 3,000 or
Jack
4,000 a
shit.
video.
Jack
3,000 or 4,000 a video.
If
at
that.
best.
If
At best.
that.
You know
At
what?
best.
The show's almost over, and I really think we should tell Kyle about the next episode, so he
That's
knows.
true.
And we get to pimp the episode, and I'm going to bring the donation screen up.
Okay, so Kyle, on Monday's show,
It'll be our 300th episode.
it's going to be our 300th episode, and we were celebrating.
Oh damn!
It's already over 3.
Oh fuck, dude! So,
Yeah.
Drunken Peasants audience, you get a special
Yeah, you
surprise.
guys are
let me
awesome.
explain
You
this
get a special
concept.
surprise on 300 because
Explain
of
to
that.
Kyle.
All right, so This is Wheel. It's called Wheel of Torture. We actually changed the name to Wheel of Misfortune.
420.
Yeah. Okay. Fine, Scotty. Calm down. Calm the fuck down, Scotty.
It's awesome, dude. I'm sorry.
Okay. What we have here is we have an S&M game show. With 3 contestants competing in trivia, but when they get questions wrong, you don't lose points or anything.
Our in-house dominatrix.
We have an in-house dominatrix who's going to beat your ass when you get questions wrong, and it's going to be beautiful.
That's awesome.
I know it's awesome.
Dude, Kyle wants to be on. I saw it in his eyes. He's like, bring me on this show.
And the winner will win over $3,000.
I would like to say that
this is the prize fund just for them.
I can't actually be on it, but I think it's awesome.
I would like to say, Kyle, that I am the only one of the Drunken Peasants that is ballsy enough.
He's going to be in it.
He's to be a contestant. I am a contestant in this, so I will be getting my...
Oh, get fucked, Paul. You're doing it for the money, buddy.
Ballsy. No, it's balls.
Oh, balls.
It's
yeah,
balls
it's
and
bullshit.
money.
Page out of Brett
It's
Keene's
$3,000, Paul. It's $3 fucking grand.
You're right.
And I have money on you, Paul, and I'm still saying that to you.
Kyle,
Yeah, they did take a bet.
Kyle, you got to watch it, dude. It's going to be fucking hilarious.
Forgive me for my naivete here, but how bad could it get with the dominatrix? So they fucking...
Kyle.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle's going to get real bad.
I have created a series of rules that I'm pretty sure can get past YouTube.
Dude,
but are still going to be pretty fucking
and
brutal.
she'll show no mercy.
Yeah, dude, Kyle, I'm not even trying to pimp this to you in some bullshit way. Like, you're going to legitimately see 2 fat fucking guys suffer.
And one
scrawny guy.
One skinny guy.
And one really skinny guy.
I wanted them all to wear flesh-colored yoga pants. That would have been fucking hilarious.
We could still make that happen.
All right,
okay,
great.
No, I remember last time I was on, we started talking about like something similar, and TJ was saying like, no, yeah, you don't get it. Sometimes you want pleasure with a side of pain, and I was like, nah, man, I want my pleasure with a side of pleasure.
I feel it. I feel it. Whatever, but that ain't how I is.
If someone taps out, they forfeit the money.
That is true. If someone says they're safe word, they lose automatically.
Yeah, I
mean, there's 2 ways to win. You can win on trivia points, or you can win if both the others.
The higher it gets, audience, the more the fucking hard. Look, Pimp Monk and fucking Paul and Repsion all hate each other. Like I've received messages from Repsion saying he fucking wants Paul dead. He wants.
It's literally called Wheel of Torture.
Yeah.
Our dominatrix is a internet cam model.
You're gonna get your ass beat, Paul.
Gigantic breasts.
Why don't you show?
You know what, Paul?
Can we pull up a picture of the dominatrix we have in studio?
TJ, can I cut a promo against Paul?
Do it.
You know what? You know what? You know what? Even despite betting on you, Paul, I don't think you're gonna fucking win. I don't know if you have what it fucking takes, Paul. Because I'll do it for Pimp Monk because he couldn't do it himself. Because Pimp Monk, he sucks at talking, and you're stupid. Pimp Monk, you're stupid. But whatever.
Can I just say real
yes,
quick?
Kyle, go ahead.
I don't know how much we can go through this.
Props to whoever's laptop that is, because when you open the new tab and it showed all the previous tabs there were no porn ones. So that was well played, because if I opened a new tab, it'd be like 87% porn ones.
That's actually my personal computer.
Yeah. Ben does no porn.
So, Paul,
Ben doesn't need porn.
You've talked a lot of shit.
Let's see.
I have.
Shut the fuck up, TJ.
I didn't say anything.
Shut the fuck up. I just
You're not gonna find her there.
Preemptively.
Just go to
How do
Twitter.
I find her?
Go to
The
Twitter
audience will be
Oh,
entertained
okay.
with this, and Paul.
You might want to pull this off the screen in case.
Paul, you're a piece of shit, dude. You're not gonna fucking win. You know why you're not gonna win? Because the questions, Paul, are going to be too fucking hard for you. Because you know what, Paul? You might be a smart guy, but you come the intellect of Scott fucking Kirk, you're fucking destroyed. Dude.
Hey, look.
The trivia, Paul, is going to be selected so you fucking lose, Paul. Because you know what? Maybe, Paul, you pulled that fucking rabbit out of the hat, but I think you go around to reach into that hat, Paul, and you come out with fucking air, and the audience sees you what you are, empty and hollow, Paul.
Could be.
You're a hollow motherfucker. You are not going to win.
This is WWE trash talk right now. I'm watching SmackDown.
You see this?
Yeah.
Poser account.
This is.
Yeah,
I agree with Kyle. I enjoy my pleasure with a side of more pleasure.
Yes.
But there is over $3,000 on the line.
There's
here.
$3,000, Kyle.
Look,
and Paul wants that money.
I'm a fat guy. My back is bad. I'm in pain every day of my life. I am gonna fucking get that money. That fat fuck catfish Pimp Monk is gonna pay me that money. Repzian never even had that money anywhere near him. It's over. It's over
What if
already.
That looked like her.
Yeah, it
What if
is
they,
her.
like-
I'm gonna find my favorite photo.
Oh, okay.
Is she bringing animals? Are there animals involved?
I have no idea. I'm not allowed.
Damn, Kyle. Kyle went somewhere we didn't even think about. He's like, is there gonna be like some animals?
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a big horse.
We're gonna have a
to
donkey
fucking
show.
Rape him up the
Kyle,
ass.
Kyle
and
wants the
stuff.
donkey show to happen.
Here's
Okay.
a good one.
Let me.
There we go.
Let me tell you what happens.
This is
Kyle.
a Tijuana, Kyle. Come on.
I can't see it. I can't see it, by the way, guys.
We're
Whatever
gonna
you're
move it
showing
over in
me.
a second. We're gonna move it over in
Yeah,
a second.
I'm staying with TJ right now, and what happens is these
This is
guys.
our dominatrix.
Yeah, there she is.
Punish.
TJ's gonna tap out because she doesn't have a fat ass.
Yeah, no, TJ's
Well,
TJ's
I'm not
in it.
I'm not in it, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Oh,
And you
you're
know
not
what?
in it. Okay.
And I've seen her ass. She does have a fat ass. I mean, it's
I-
not giant.
I see no hips from this angle. I must
Yeah.
say. I
She's
can
got
tell
a
you.
shit,
Have to
dude.
tell you.
Okay, back
does.
here. This right here.
Well, show
Yeah.
him a picture of her ass. Is there a picture
Show
of her
the
ass anywhere?
Ben.
I
Show.
don't know. I'm afraid to scroll through this.
Yeah.
You'll be-
Oh right, yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
That is a
Hold
good
on, I'm
point.
gonna go through a little more until I find.
Oh
yeah,
there we
go.
The point being
Is that all right?
I mean, that's not the best
It's
in
not
the world, but that's pretty good.
Oh
I mean,
shit, TJ. You gotta.
hey,
spank
she
for that.
can't punish me.
Oh, she will, dude. Anyways,
I'm the host.
Dude,
Now,
she
hey,
will anyways.
TJ,
You fucking
TJ,
faggot. Oh,
I know
watch.
you're. TJ, I know you're like you do your ass of the day thing, so I know that like it's well known on the internet that you like women with fat asses.
Yeah,
but,
really fat.
No, but so you said this one's okay. I'm here to tell you I out fat ass you because I like bigger than that.
Fuck, dude.
Damn.
He
He just.
fat
Oh,
ass
dude,
you.
he just called you. You gonna take that shit, you little bitch?
I didn't hear what he said.
Kyle
He
has
said he
a
out fat assed you.
Kyle has a
Yeah,
fatter
no,
ass
like
than
that was.
He looked
that's
at
like,
ass.
not, like that's
Not enough
okay,
drunk.
but like I'm not
I
even
mean, you know,
like.
that's what I'm saying. It's
that's
like okay, whatever.
Dude.
Are you trying to demean our dominatrix? She will beat the fuck out of you.
No, she
Kyle.
won't. She ain't gonna do
TJ
nothing.
did. He did. Oh, TJ, you were fucked, dude.
Dude, I want to see Kyle's big fat ass now. Like,
Oh, jeez.
What?
Oh, you want to see ideal for me? Is that what
No,
you're saying?
I
Like,
thought
what
you
my
said
ideal-
that you had a fatter ass than that chick.
No,
No,
what the
no, no,
fuck?
no, no,
How
no.
did he say
I
that?
like-
No, he fucking didn't.
I don't
these
even. I
visions
barely
of-
have an ass. I'm not even sure if it
Okay.
counts as an
Why
ass.
would-
I'm talking about what I like on women.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
So-
Why would you
so
imagine
you
Kyle's ass? Kyle's
like,
got
okay,
a fat ass? Really?
He
Kyle.
likes big
Hey,
jiggles.
guys.
Kyle, listen.
How
If
drunk
I
are
was
you?
if I was scrolling through some shit and I saw that ass, I'd keep scrolling. Sure.
Yeah, me too.
That's what
me
I'm
too.
saying.
Oh, damn.
But I'm saying, like, if I look at that ass, I'm
Hey.
like, you know, that's
Hey,
all right.
Mistress Gin, if you're watching,
Yeah,
quote from
no,
TJ. If
then-
I
then
saw
we
that
agree.
ass while I was
Then we're at the
scrolling,
same point.
if I saw the ass while I was scrolling, I'd keep on fucking scrolling.
All right.
She got
so-
nice tits though.
Before we go, hold on
I'd
one
stop
second.
at those tits for a second.
Before we go, I just want to say that what happened there was I was imagining Kyle Kulinski with a big fat Brazilian ass. I thought he was sitting on
and
a big.
it actually turned you on a little bit.
Really think?
Yeah.
Do you really think that like, Kyle has got a big fat fucking ass?
Oh,
Just
that's
looking at me,
so
he clearly
not the
don't.
case.
Maybe
No,
so, dude.
that-
I've never seen him from the waist down. Maybe he's
What
got
do
a
you think?
fat ass.
All the fat in his body just went down to his ass.
Yeah,
So
maybe he,
Paul, do you think Kyle's a mestizo too?
he might be.
I'm
Yeah.
a
There you go.
mestizo.
All right, we're both Polish. We're not mestizos.
I'm a
motherfucker.
mestizo. No, dude, Kyle, you're a mestizo.
No,
I don't know
he
what
is.
that is. What is this?
The
Mexican.
mestizo. No, oh no, it's not. No, it's not. How dare you say that?
Okay.
How dare you say
Mexicans would be considered
that?
mestizos.
No, he's the no, that's not the mestizo we're talking about.
Yeah, what's a mestizo? I don't know what that.
Race.
All right, whatever. All right, Kyle. Sorry for the confusing ending. The show is over.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
We're drunk and no longer
right,
with
guys.
your
care.
giant
Fuck
fat
you,
Brazilian
audience.
ass.
I'm amazing.
Hope we
Always
can get you
fun,
back
guys.
again
Always
soon. I
fun.
look forward to seeing your
Yeah,
new
thanks for
studio.
being
Everyone,
on, man.
subscribe.
everyone
check
go
out
subscribe to
Kyle.
Secular Talk. Check out
Awesome
his new studio.
channel.
He's
We
moving
watch
in
it
on
all the
Monday,
time.
right? Are you moving on Monday still on your new studio?
Yes, I'll be in my new studio
Cool,
on Monday.
all right.
Check out Kyle's shit.
Kyle, you should come to Seattle and be
Come
a
in our
guest
studio.
In our
Yes.
studio, because we have a
Anytime you
couch.
want, Kyle.
There's a couch
All right, thanks,
here. How can
guys.
you refuse it? All right,
Awesome.
see you
Do it.
later.
He's like, thanks, I'm not doing that.
Thanks. I'm not going to do that, but
doing
thank
it.
you so much.
I'm gonna
Like,
kid-
kind offer.
I'm gonna kidnap
All right, guys.
Kyle on Amtrak and take him on Amtrak.
Dude,
back here.
yeah, I think he's good where he is, man.
All right.
Nope.
Good night, everyone. Please give it a thumbs up.
Thank
if
you, Kyle.
enjoyed.
Subscribe to Kyle.
All right.
Everyone. Good night.
Later,
night.
guys.
Good night, everybody. Thanks, Kyle.